Hello and welcome back everyone, Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna start a new series, What If Naruto Was Trained by Dark Harry Potter Part 1. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Harry Potter, then 18, sighed as he gazed into the future. After he killed the snake-faced bugger a year ago, the wizarding world declared him to be the second coming of Voldemort, and he was currently holed up inside Potter Manor. Like sheep, the wizarding public accepted the news without question, as is customary. He didn't really care what the wizarding world thought of him, so it wouldn't have mattered, but his friends' reactions to the announcement were what made the declaration so tragic. Ron and Hermione immediately turned against him and supported the government. He was told by the Weasleys that he was no longer welcome and should never again enter their home. The Weasley twins were the only ones who didn't think he was the next Dark Lord, as the wizarding world had depicted him. In order to be ready for anything that might go wrong, the prankster team kept him informed of any developments involving him. Declaring himself a Dark Lord, Harry grinned grimly when his mind wandered to the Ministry's actions. The former Auror-turned-minister announced that all of his possessions would be seized and placed in the Ministry's coffers after Minister Scrimgeour determined he was unfit to be a Potter because he was turning dark. Fortunately, the goblins were on his side, alerting him to this scheme right away and putting strict safeguards in place to keep him and his fortune safe. Speaking of money, Harry immediately discovered that he was a very successful young man. The goblins meticulously explained to him the Potter's position in the wizarding world, their immense wealth, and of course, his ancestry, since he had no idea what his family name meant. As the sole surviving member of the Potter-Gryffindor family, he discovered that the Potters were a direct descendant of Godric Gryffindor. Furthermore, he was given the right of conquest to the Slytherin fortune, which was added to his portfolio as a result of his defeat of the riddle. Fortunately, Voldemort was ignorant of his family's position, so the Slytherin vault and possessions were unaltered, elevating Harry to the position of richest wizard in the British wizarding community. To be honest, he didn't care because he spent the majority of his life in poverty and didn't crave material possessions unless absolutely necessary. Harry used the Goblin's Bloodlock service to safeguard his inheritance, ensuring that only he and members of his bloodline could access the vaults. Because he was the only secret keeper and all of his properties were under Fidelius' charm, no one who was avaricious enough to try to seize or steal them could access them. After his inheritance was adequately safeguarded, Harry moved into Potter Manor, which was also protected by Fidelius' charm and other family safeguards. Harry was relieved to be able to escape the wizarding world's sheep at Potter Manor. A dozen house elves kept up the mansion-like residence, and when he returned, they practically threw a party. Harry saw it as his second chance at life and began to establish a life for himself there. Harry didn't really put in the time to learn about magic at Hogwarts, so he decided to use the extensive library of the Potter family to properly train his magic. He felt a little guilty about playing down his skills so that his friends would accept him. He had always known instinctively that he had to dumb himself down to gain friends, particularly with Ron, whose study habits left much to be desired unless it was food or Quidditch, and Hermione, who wouldn't want anyone to shine above her knowledge. It was enlightening to spend a year at Potter Manor, or more precisely, the Potter Library. With no need to dumb himself down or divert his attention from learning everything he could, he began relearning everything in the Hogwarts curriculum and discovered that he was quite talented in magic. Though the latter wasn't quite at the level of a master, he discovered that he was fairly skilled in transfiguration, charms, and potion making. He had no trouble creating the most complex potion on the market. Without Snape breathing down his neck, brewing already made potions was simple for him, but he was unable to create new recipes to save his life. He also began working on other areas of magic, such as wandless magic, that he was interested in. Despite not being a master, he was able to successfully cast spells from 1st to 5th year without a wand. Anything more than that would either fail miserably or blow up in his face. He attributed it to his lack of experience and made a self-promise to work harder on his studies. Additionally, Harry found that he enjoyed ancient runes, which ultimately inspired him to add warding to his study regimen. The most difficult wards would need careful study and practice before he could cast them successfully, but he could cast the simpler ones. However, he did not spend all of his time at Potter Manor studying. Upon observing his somewhat undernourished condition, the elves promptly put him on a rigorous potion and exercise regimen to restore his health. He was able to achieve his maximum physical development following a year of exercise and pampering. Even though he wasn't as tall as his tallest peers, he was now an impressive 5 feet 10 inches and no longer considered scrawny. His skinny muscles and swimmer's build replaced his malnourished body, giving him a well-defined appearance that would make many girls swoon if they ever got to see his body naked. When Fawkes emerged in all his fiery splendor, Harry was startled out of his reverie. 6 months ago, when Albus Dumbledore was practicing the brewing of Veritaserum in the Potter Manor Potions laboratory, the former familiar made an appearance. Fawkes bonded with him instantly and developed a mental imagery and emotion-based communication style. Harry greeted his familiar, "Hi, Fawkes." He saw that the Phoenix's talons were holding a box. "What have you got there?" Fawkes pushed the idea of Dumbledore placing some items inside the box without saying anything, which was nothing new. Harry turned to his familiar and said, "From Professor Dumbledore?" With a trilled, "Yes." Fawkes placed the box on the table before him and then took off for his perch in the corner. Harry picked up the box out of curiosity and opened the lid. He noticed the rolled-up parchment, but there were other things inside. He pulled it out and flipped it open. He began to read, realizing it was a letter from Dumbledore. "Greetings, Harry. If my predictions come true, Fawkes will deliver this letter to you along with the other things I thought you should have, even though I hoped you would never have to read it. You see, I am confident that you could defeat Voldemort, Harry. I am confident that you could solve the puzzle of the clues I left behind and defeat Tom Riddle, thereby liberating the wizarding world from his hold. But I'm aware of how the magical world functions, and I suspect that magical Britain wouldn't be providing you with the life you're entitled to. The worst has happened if you are reading this letter, and this is my final attempt to help you live a better life. Right now, my boy, you have two choices. The first is to keep living in the wizarding world and hope that their erroneous perception of you will change. If not, I'd like to offer you a change of scenery. I was able to learn about a world very different from our own when I was young, and I have kept it a secret ever since. Although it remains a part of our world, it is so well hidden that no outsiders could ever break through its barriers, keeping it apart from the rest of the population for all time. There is a book inside the box that will tell you everything there is to know about this world and give you a sense of what to expect if you choose to move there. I've enchanted this letter to reveal the remainder of the book's content, which includes some tips to help you better adjust to this world without having to start from scratch. The box also contains the Resurrection Stone and the Elder Wand. I believe you already understand the importance of these objects, so I want you to either take them with you or store them in a location that no wizard would be able to access. Both light and dark must avoid the Hallows because they are dangerous. I only trust you to use them. You are the master of the Hallows, and they would be of good service to you if my prediction came to pass. I'll let you look through the remaining contents of the box and wrap up the first section of this letter here. If you decide to move to your new home, read the book and then hold this letter again when you're ready. The second letter will magically appear in its content. With love and best wishes for your prosperity, Albus. Harry blinked and couldn't contain his laughter. In actuality, Albus Dumbledore was the smartest wizard of his era. The old coot's ability to foresee the future also gave Harry comfort in knowing that the wizard would do everything in his power to give him a happy life. He was aware that the wizard had trained him to defeat Voldemort, and he couldn't hold the man accountable for his deceit. After all, it was a desperate man's choice. He put the letter on the table and looked at the other things in the box, curious. When he saw the Elder Wand, he was struck by how beautiful it was. He removed it from the box, and as soon as his hand touched it, a strong rush of magic shot through his veins. Something snapped in his soul, and he felt the strength that comes from holding the strongest hand in the world. He immediately realized that he had been given the Elder Wand's allegiance. With a sigh, he summoned a wand holster and waved the Elder Wand. He was amazed at how simple it was to use the wand to control his magic. The Elder Wand appears to be superior to the others because it seems to enhance any spell that is cast through it. Like the holster he wore on his right arm to hold his holly and phoenix feather wand, he added the customary enchantments. He put his new wand inside and strapped it to his left arm. The Elder Wand materialized in his grasp as he flicked his left hand, then wished it back to its new home. He proceeded to the next item, satisfied. Since he would never inflict pain on the spirits of the dead, he placed the cracked resurrection stone next to the letter. He vowed to avoid using the stone's power to call the spirits to the physical plane because he knew it would cause them pain. Since he wasn't in a rush, he chose to think of a method to safeguard the stone later. He then discovered a trunk that had shrunk. He felt the enchantment on it as he lifted it out. After setting it on the ground, he pulled out his holly wand and turned the shrinking charm it was under around. He opened the now enlarged trunk to find a variety of magic-related books inside. He knew that Dumbledore would never send him books that were uninteresting, so he vowed to read them later. He closed the trunk and took out the book that was the last thing in the box. Harry saw that it was a thick book with the title, The Elemental Nations by Albus Dumbledore, printed on the front in brown leather. He opened it out of curiosity and began to read. When Harry finished reading the book that Dumbledore had recommended, he was astounded. Dumbledore appears to have discovered an old allusion to a portal tucked away in the heart of the Himalayan mountains. A completely different world working on a whole new set of rules was accessible through the doorway, which was a conduit to a dimension parallel to his own. This new world, according to Dumbledore's study of the elemental nations, was ruled by people called shinobis rather than magical beings. In contrast to the shinobis depicted in films, these shinobis were strong individuals who could perform a variety of tasks, from physical manifestation to elemental manipulation, by channeling a special energy called chakra. To put it mildly, it was amazing. The fact that civilians also existed in this world and that shinobi served as paid mercenaries to carry out specific tasks was almost mentioned in the book. Shinobis didn't bother to conceal their skills, unlike muggles and magical people, and civilians don't mind. Additionally, the elemental nations speak a dialect that is somewhat different from Japanese. Fortunately, Dumbledore was able to create a translation spell that would enable him to freely comprehend and communicate in their native tongue. Harry eagerly read the book and took in all it had to offer, thrilled by the possibilities this world presented as a home. He pondered what he would do in this world if he ever made the decision to relocate there. He could, for one thing, be a civilian and continue to live his natural life in peace. The book also explained what a shinobi was expected to possess physically in order to succeed in the trade, so he could also become a shinobi if he ever wanted to. After reading this part of the book, Harry realized that if he ever wanted to be a chakra, he would need to be physically fit and have access to chakra. Since magic was far more powerful than chakra, he was aware that he could replicate the feat using it. Harry also learned that the books in the Shrunken Trunk covered a variety of subjects that explained the shinobi way of life, from their training regimen to the different functions that chakra could carry out both inside and outside the body. Harry would never know how Dumbledore obtained these books. Harry chose to read the remaining books before deciding because he had finished the first one. Harry made the decision to start over in the elemental nations a few months after turning 19. The twin informed him that there was a substantial reward for his capture, which precipitated the decision. It would appear that the minister was desperate to get his hands on him for some reason, given that he was safely inside his house, which was protected by Fidelius. Resolved to begin again, Harry raised Dumbledore's letter and watched it transform into a new set of guidelines. Greetings. Harry, you have made the decision to change your surroundings if you have read this section of the letter. In this situation, there are a few things you should do in advance to ensure a smooth transition to your new residence. First of all, you don't have to worry about losing your hard-won skills and knowledge because you can still use magic in this world. Additionally, since the few people I have revealed magic to have accepted it without question, you don't need to worry about hiding as a civilian. Let's start the preparations now. You must first get in touch with Gringotts. The elemental nation's currency differs greatly from ours. Only a special currency known as Ryo is accepted by the elemental countries in place of the more common galleons, sickles, and nuts. You must bring gold bars with you in order to exchange them for local currency if you wish to have money. I was surprised to learn that a galleon is worth a month's wages to Ryo when I showed a friend of mine in the elemental nations and had it appraised. Take some gold bars with you, and exchange them at a nearby bank. You won't be let down. Second, I recommend that you travel with a house elf. For humans to enter the elemental nations safely, they must pass through the doorway. I did observe, though, that house elves could travel through dimensions as long as they were bound to their master. I unintentionally summoned my house elf, Dippy, and she showed up without any issues. If you need something in our world, you can have a house elf get it for you. A house elf would allow you access to both worlds, so to speak. Third, since you can easily purchase the necessities once you arrive, only bring the bare minimum. Last but not least, when you enter the elemental nations, I want you to head straight to Konoha. Fox knows where it is, so he can get you there without any issues. Register with the gate guards, Chunins, if I recall correctly, when you arrive in Konoha, and request that they accompany you to the Hokage. Since Sarutobi Hiruzen was the Hokage at the time, you ought to be introduced to him. He will know my name if you tell him. Tell Sarutobi if you choose to become a shinobi so he can help you find tutors to help you reach your goal. I wish you luck on your new journey and hope this is helpful, my boy. Albus. Fox was on Harry's shoulder when he emerged in a blaze. To conceal both of his wands, he was currently dressed in a muggle outfit consisting of jeans, a blue shirt, and an overcoat with sleeves that reached his wrists. A few miles outside of Konoha, he ended up on a road. He made his backpack more comfortable for travel and followed the road, whistling a cheerful song as Fox trailed behind him. Since Fox chose to fly around and take in the sights before meeting with him later, it took him an hour to reach the gates of Konoha by himself. It had been a while since he had relished the sight of nature, so he was not in a rush and relished the walk. When he arrived at the gate, two people Harry instantly recognized as Shinobi stopped him. Fortunately, Albus was wise enough to include moving images of Shinobi in his book so that readers could quickly identify them. One of the Shinobi guards exclaimed, "Halt! Who are you and what brings you to Konoha?" When Harry read the translation spell from Dumbledore's book, he instantly activated it. As a greeting, Harry said, "My name is Harry Potter and I come seeking the counsel of the Hokage for the possibility of living in your beautiful village." The other guard attempted to pronounce his name, Harry Potter. Harry grimaced as their language distorted his name. He smiled and sighed inwardly in relief when the guards nodded in agreement, as they were both struggling with his family name. Just call me Harry for now." The guard pointed to an open scroll on the table next to the gate and said, "Okay, just sign your name on the log and your purpose of visit before you're escorted to the Hokage." As pens were not being used in this world, Harry nodded and accepted the brush, silently giving thanks to whatever gods were out there for being a skilled painter. He quickly wrote his name and the reason for his visit after dipping it in ink from the bottle next to the scroll. After reviewing his work, one of the guards nodded. He was led to the Hokage Tower by a masked shinobi. Since he was a civilian, the walk took 30 minutes, and Harry could sense his escort's nervousness because of his slow pace. He chose to conceal his magic for the time being, even though he could have easily told the Anbu that he could apparate to get there more quickly. In order to avoid unintentionally offending the locals, Harry went over the details of the elemental nation's customs he had read in the book during their walk to the tower. He compared their custom to that of the Japanese because they were so similar. As soon as they arrived at the tower, Harry spoke to his escort. Harry surprised his guard by bowing and saying, "Thank you for escorting me, Shinobi-san." His guard nodded and then vanished in a flurry of leaves. The wizard promised to look into it further and attributed it to Shinobi skills. Harry had to wait after speaking with the secretary because the Hokage had an appointment. An hour later, the secretary led him to the office, where an elderly man with an odd hat was occupied with reading a variety of papers on his desk. Harry bowed and said, "Thank you for taking the time to see me, Hokage-sama." The Hokage smiled and said, "No problem. May I know your name and your purpose of coming here to Konoha?" "My name is Harry Potter, though I think we need to come up with a new name since not many in your world could enunciate it properly." "Well, before we go into that, I was instructed to come here by my master to see Sarutobi Hiruzen," he said, "your world," and then motioned Harry to sit down. The Hokage nodded and smiled, though his eyes gleamed curiously. He asked inquisitively, "I am Sarutobi Hiruzen and I am the Hokage. So who is this master of yours?" Harry immediately responded, "His name is Albus Dumbledore." Before a smile appeared on Sarutobi's face, his expression changed to one of shock. "Oh, Albus-san. I remember him. How is he?" Harry looked sorrowfully at the Hokage. "He died a few years ago." Harry's face was reflected in Sarutobi's. "I see. I met him during my youth a few weeks after I became the Hokage and told me about his circumstances and interviewed me concerning the elemental nations since he is not from this world. I take it you're magical then?" Harry nodded and said, "Yes, I am. He was the head of the magic school I attended before I graduated." "I see. So, Harry grimaced as Sarutobi saw his name being mangled once more. "What brings you here?" Harry told the elderly leader everything about his situation, including his life with the Dursleys, the battle with Voldemort, his education at Hogwarts, the Horcrux hunt, and his life in Wizarding Britain following the fall of the Dark Lord. He chose to tell the truth because he truly wanted to start a new life here. As he told his story, the Hokage's face was a flurry of emotions, but it ended with a look of comprehension that caused Harry to sigh inwardly in relief. "Quite a life you went through, my boy, and I can see in your eyes the glint of a warrior. You have gone through much and I can safely say that you became a great person because of it. I have no problems letting you live in Konoha and welcome you with open arms. Would it be safe to say that Albus already taught you everything he knows about this world?" Sarutobi inquired as he pulled a number of documents from his file cabinet. The elderly leader instantly imitated Harry's smile as he said, "Yes. He left me a bunch of books to read so I won't have any problems living here. In fact, I memorized all of them." Good. I would just like to say that you don't need to hide your abilities here since Albus-san informed me that your magical world tends to hide from civilians. You don't have to fear that separation here considering shinobis can do almost the same thing you do with chakra. Are you going to be a civilian or are you interested in becoming a shinobi?" your abilities would be of great help to the village. To be honest, I'm still not sure. I need to acquaint myself with chakra and shinobis in general since Professor Dumbledore's books didn't really go into detail, only a general summary. I can start off as a civilian then decide later if that's alright. The Hokage pushed a stack of papers to Harry, who eyed them anxiously. I have no problem with that. In fact, I have an idea that would be of great benefit to you during your stay here in Konoha and to get your abilities recognized by the village. But first, you need to fill out these forms before we can proceed. That's a lot of paper. Smugly, Sarutobi replied, yes, I know. Sarutobi eyed Harry's holly wand with interest as he flicked it out and raised an eyebrow. He picked up the first form from the top of the stack, tapped it with his wand, and observed the data being entered in its proper location. Sarutobi observed all of this with interest and a hint of jealousy. Harry took his turn to glare at the elderly leader. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow when he saw the information in the document and grabbed it. He inquired inquisitively, I see that you decided to change your name, Mahora Hari? Hari smiled and nodded. Yes, since my name has been mangled many times by your guards, I thought up a new name for myself since I am starting a new life here. Mahora instead of Potter since Maho is the equivalent of magic in your language. Hari is a play of my real name. Hari laughed. Sarutobi nodded as he looked over the data on the documents and said, I see. Considering that you have a unique ability that would contribute much to the village, what is your reaction if I suggest that you start a clan here in Konoha? A clan? Hari inquired inquisitively. Yes. You see, in this village, there are people who have unique abilities that we call Keke Genkai or bloodline limit and those who are given a clan status. For example, the Nara clan has the ability to use shadow techniques, the Aburame clan for their use of bugs in battle, and so on. From what Albus told me, magic can be passed on to your children so it would be qualified as a Keke Genkai. Such is the case. It would be prudent for you to start your own clan here in Konoha and the privileges it can give you. Hari mentioned, interesting. What privileges does being clan have? For starters, all information concerning your abilities is a secret to the rest of the populace. In other words, no one can force you to reveal them if you don't want to. Second, a clan head have a seat in our government as long as you have a thorough knowledge of our laws. Also, as a clan, you are given a plot of land where you can start your own family and is considered private grounds that no one can enter without your explicit permission. I can provide you with books detailing the responsibilities of a clan head if you wish to push through with this idea. After giving it some thought, Hari nodded his head in agreement. I agree with your suggestion, Hokage-sama. In fact, that would make my life in the village a whole lot easier. Would it be safe to say that being a clan requires me to contribute to the village as a whole? Sarutobi grinned and said, You assume correctly, Mahora-san. Hari was taken aback by the elderly man's regard for him and the use of his new family name. It is up to you in regards to what you can contribute to the village. I don't think I can give much in terms of magic since I can safely say that I am the only one here that can use magic. I can offer to teach those who display the ability if one ever turns up. I can also make some potions to be used by the public, but it needs to be regulated since some of them are quite dangerous. Potions? Inquired Sarutobi. Hari gave a nod. He might as well demonstrate his abilities to the Hokage. He spent some time studying Sarutobi, trying to decide which potion to use, when a thought suddenly came to him. He smiled and took a shrunken trunk from his backpack, placing it on the ground. The Hokage's eyes widened at the sight of magic before him as he tapped it with his wand to undo the enchantment. He rummaged through the trunk's many vials and extracted 2 potions. Due to their rarity, these 2 potions were regarded as lost to the wizarding world. Actually, the only place to find the recipes for these potions was the Potter Library, which was 10 times bigger than Hogwarts. Potions are a very common element in the wizarding world, Hokage-sama. There is practically a potion for every scenario ranging from healing to poison. These 2 potions are unique to the Potter clan, or if you want to be technical, the Mahora clan. The recipes for these 2 are considered lost and only found in my library. Hari laughed as he set the potion on the Hokage's desk. In front of him, Sarutobi examined 2 potion vials, a blue one and a pure white one. He inquired inquisitively, What do these potions do, Hari? The way the elderly man spoke to him as a friend rather than a subordinate made Hari smile. It was the right thing for him to show him these potions. These 2 potions work together. The white potion is called an age reversal potion. The amount of potion in that vial is enough to de-age a person 10 years of his life. The blue potion is called a permanence potion and any potion drank before it would make the effect permanent. For example, If you drink the white potion followed by the blue potion, you will be to age 10 years permanently. However, there is a limit. The age reversal potion may only be administered twice until it would become poisonous to the human body. And not all effects are applicable to the permanence potion. Why don't you give them a try, Hokage-sama? I'm sure you'll like the results. Before a frown smeared his face, Sarutobi gazed at Hari with a mixture of interest and excitement. I hope you understand that I couldn't drink these potions, Hari. I trust you, but as a shinobi, I am automatically wary of anything. Since he was in the same situation as the Hokage, Hari nodded in agreement with his admission. Are you familiar with a wizard's oath, Hokage-sama? Yes. Albus explained to me and even used that once when I asked him to promise me not to divulge any information of the elemental nations to those he doesn't trust. After giving a nod, Harry lifted his holly wand. He intoned, causing him to glow slightly, signifying the activation of the oath. I, Harry James Potter, now known as Mahora Hari, swear on my life and magic that these potions would never hurt or cause negative effects to one Hiruzen Sarutobi when drank. So I say, so mote it be. He lifted his wand and filled the room with a gentle spell. He cancelled the spell after saying, as you can see, I still have my magic, so I have not lied to you that these two potions will not be causing you any harm. Sarutobi took the white potion first and nodded. The effect was immediate. The Hokage's face lost some of its wrinkles, and some of his hair turned brown, though, given his age, there was still a lot of white left. He nodded, and he drank the blue potion right away, which caused him to glow blue for a little while before going away. Amazing, I feel a bit young. Well, not that young, but sprier compared to before. This is astounding, Hari. So I should drink the blue potion now? So I'm now 51 years old? Sarutobi turned pink after Hari cast a spell on him. He smiled and said, well, 51 years, 8 months, and 11 days. Before putting it on the table and calling forth another set of the two potions. I suggest that you drink these two after 48 hours to de-age yourself to 41. Consider it as a gift. Sarutobi grinned and nodded, then took the potions and slipped them into one of his secret pockets. So what other potions do you have with you right now? I have the basic, as well as some medical potions. Why do you ask? In order to attest to the validity of these potions, as well as strengthening your position to start a clan here in Konoha, I would invite some of the council as you administer these potions. Besides, it would be better if they can see the immediate benefits of your clan instead of just taking your word for it. Hari nodded and said, I agree with you there, Hokage-sama. He then took a mental inventory of the potion he had in his trunk. Let me see, I have a potion that can regrow broken or lost bones. Potions that stimulate muscle growth. Potions that can help heal major wounds. Potions to restore bloodaham. I also have some healing potions to cure nerve damage. Amazing. Sarutobi croaked with delight at the potential of these potions to strengthen Konoha's forces. A significant number of shinobi retired as a result of suffering arm or leg injuries in combat. About 50 shinobi could be redrafted into the ranks if these potions prove effective. If it's alright with you, I can set up a meeting with the Shinobi Council in 2 hours at the hospital where you will administer these potions to some of the patients there. Hari smiled and remarked, I have all the time in the world, Hokage-sama. He was pleased that the demonstration would strengthen his standing in the community and enable him to assist others by using his gift. He and Hari worked out some of the details regarding his clan status in the village after the Hokage rode to the Shinobi Council to meet him in the hospital in 2 hours. They made the decision to show Hari a clan house that had been abandoned and was available for his use. In addition, Hari handed the Hokage a briefcase with the 30 gold bars he had brought so they could be valued and changed to Ryo in the bank. When Sarutobi's eyes widened like saucers at the sight of the wealth he had brought with him, Hari laughed. Sarutobi asked Hari to give him a sense of his magic abilities because they had a lot of free time. When Hari pulled out his wand, his eyes glowed as he wanted to demonstrate to the shinobi leader his true abilities. The Sandaime Hokage and Hari proceeded to the hospital to meet with the other members of the council for his demonstration to solidify his status as a valuable clan in the village after performing a series of magical feats that shocked the elderly leader out of his sandals. The Hokage allowed the newcomer to look over the hospital's patient list and select a select few who would benefit from Hari's special treatment because he would be the one giving out the potions. The shinobi side of the council, which included Nara Shikaku, Yamanaka Inoichi, Akamichi Shuza, Inazuka Sume, Aburame Shibi, and Hyuga Haishi, was introduced to Hari as soon as they arrived. The Hokage recommended that these clans be added to the village first because they were the most reliable and receptive to the idea. However, there were a few more that should have been present. Hari wouldn't have to worry about his standing in the village if he could win their support. Since Hari had a lot of potions on hand and was skilled in healing spells from his studies in the Potter Library, he decided to treat everyone in the hospital after looking through their medical records. If necessary, he could restock his supplies after he was settled. Shinji, a member of the Inuzuka clan, was the first patient. After his arm was nearly blown off during a mission, he was scheduled for amputation. When Hari walked into the patient's room, he saw the dejected expression in the man's eyes and knew that he had already accepted the fact that he would no longer be a shinobi. Following a brief greeting, Hari went up to the patient, with the Hokage and the other council members watching from a distance. When the young wizard examined the wound, he couldn't help but grimace. He could see that the wound was severely infected and that no Muggle remedy could heal the severely mangled flesh. The patient nodded resignedly when Hari asked, "From the looks of it and the severity of the wound, this needs to be amputated, am I correct?" "Well, not if I can help it, Fox." Everyone was taken aback when a stunning bird emerged from the flames. Hari chose to introduce his familiar after noticing their shocked and amazed expressions. "Everyone, I would like you to meet my familiar, Fox. He is a phoenix and will be helping me in treating Shinji-san here. Phoenixes have the power to heal, both physical and emotional. His song can get rid of negative emotions and their tears can heal any wounds and poison." Hari told everyone who was staring at the bird with amazement. He gave Fox a look. "Fox, would you please heal the man's arm?" Before soaring down next to the patient, Fox trilled in agreement. He tilted his head to the side and poured some of his healing tears onto the man's arm, which was covered in numerous wounds. The numerous wounds closed and healed in front of their eyes, leaving only a slight scar. Everyone was looking at the red bird with deep respect and was in awe of what they had seen. Hari smiled at his familiar face as Fox pretended to be pleased. "Now, I am not familiar with the spell that would heal broken bones, but I can learn that if I need to. However, I will be giving you a potion called Skelegrow which can regrow any bones. But first, I need to remove the bone from your arm before it can be regrown." With a sense of relief that his clan member would not be retiring anytime soon, Sume asked, "Are you going to operate on him, Mahora Dono?" Everyone stared at her in surprise at the tone of her voice, which was respectful. It appeared that this young man had just won Sume's respect, which she doesn't give very often. Harry pulled out the Elder Wand with a flick of his left hand and said, "Sorry, Sume-sama. I am not a surgeon, but I have an alternative." He needed the Elder Wand's power to help him and make his spell strong enough to work because he wasn't very skilled at casting healing spells. He cast the bone-removing spell while pointing the wand at Shinji's arm. Femora Abeo. Shinji's arm was struck by a white light beam, which easily dispelled the fractured bones. The arm just flopped like jelly on the bed. Everybody was staring at it in shock. He produced a vial of the green Skelegrow and held it out to the man, saying, "Now, I vanished the bones and you didn't feel any pain since I didn't tamper with the nerves." Hari said, "That is going to taste very bad, so please drink it all down in one go." Shinji looked at everyone in terror as he shakily took the potion with his good arm. The Hokage nodded encouragingly, and he drank the potion all at once, nearly regurgitating it due to its flavor. With a wry smile on his face, Hari instantly handed him a glass of water that he had conjured with his wand. Shinji swallowed it whole, erasing the terrible taste from his tongue. Remembering how many times Madame Pomfrey had made him drink Skelegrow, Hari shivered and said, "I know how you feel. Skelegrow doesn't really taste that good." Shinji shivered in disgust and remarked, "That was the most horrid thing I ever tasted in my entire life. Why is my arm tingling and suddenly becoming painful?" Hari handed him another potion vial, which Shinji eyed fearfully. "It means that the potion is working and in a matter of 4 hours, your arm will be good as new. Here, drink this. Don't be such a baby. This is a pain relief potion and it tastes a whole lot better than Skelegrow." With a sigh, Shinji took the potion and swallowed it whole. He pulled a face. He exclaimed in awe, "Tastes weird, but it's better than the first one. Hey, it's not painful anymore." "Told you," Hari boastfully remarked. "That potion will last until your arm is regrown. I will come back in 4 hours to check on you, alright?" Shinji bowed respectfully after nodding. "Thank you, Mahora-sama. I am forever in your debt. You saved my shinobi career." Hari grinned and gave the man a shoulder pat. "No need to thank me. I know how it feels to have your dream taken away from you. I'm just happy that I could help and keep that dream alive." Everyone left Shinji's room, and Hari could see the council's and the Hokage's stunned expressions. Hari used his potions to heal various patients over the course of the following hour. though he had to use spells on a few because he didn't have the appropriate potion on hand. If he was going to be spending his free time helping out in the hospital, he promised to have one of his elves bring him medical books from the Potter Library to read. He was on his way to the Hokage's office to complete his status as a clan head after finishing the last patient when an emergency patient entered. All of the patients rushed up to the head doctor, who was there when Hari healed them. "Hokage-sama, Mahora-sama, we have a patient that is in need of immediate treatment. Mahora-sama, we need your help. Our abilities won't be able to help him," the head doctor pleaded. The doctor led them to an emergency room, and Hari nodded to him right away. The Hokage and the other members of the Shinobi Council followed closely behind. When Hari first saw the patient, he nearly puked. A shinobi with multiple serious wounds was dying. Both of his arms were severed, and his stomach was sliced open. He was gushing blood. Although Hari was not a trained healer, he was aware of what he could do to assist the man. "Fox!" exclaimed Hari. The phoenix instantly flew from Hari's shoulder to the patient after realizing what his master wanted. Then, he wept into the man's numerous wounds, curing them all. Following Fox's completion of the wounds, Hari immediately launched a barrage of diagnostic spells before attacking the man with a series of healing spells. The first spell had a startling effect. Blood loss, fractured bones, diminished vitality, the loss of 2 arms, and a few scattered concussions were all plaguing the man. Fortunately, the major wounds were healed by Fox. He wasted no time in ordering the attending nurses to support the man's head while he administered the necessary potions. The head doctor and the Hokage nodded, and the nurses followed orders. To help the man relax, Hari first gave him a pain relief potion. He then administered 2 doses of blood replenishing potions to the man in order to compensate for the blood loss. He removed 2 vials of Skelligro and 1 of muscle regrowth potion before force-feeding it to the man after casting another round of diagnostic spells to assess his condition. He was relieved that the patient was unconscious because the taste would have caused him to throw up the entire thing. He let out a sigh of relief when another spell revealed that the potions were effective and that the man's condition was stable. Then, as the adrenaline left his body, he slumped down on a chair that was available. Hari sighed, "Man, that was close." He then drank a pepper-up potion to regain his lost energy. A worried Hokage eyed the sleeping man and said, "What happened, Hari?" "It was a good thing that we made it in time. The man was going to die with the injuries he sustained. Blood loss, both arms cut, major wounds, internal bleeding, and various broken bones and concussion to the head. Not to mention that his life force was dwindling during treatment. Thankfully, Fox was able to heal a majority of the man's wounds and started the regeneration of his energy using his tears. I also administered the correct potions to regrow his arms, muscles and all. He will be fine in 16 hours, give or take a few. I will leave some potions and instructions when he regains consciousness. When he is back to normal, he would need a week of rest before he can go back to his duties." Reported prior to giving the head. The doctor eagerly took it. When Hari listed the injuries, the Hokage and the Shinobi Council went pale. The man could not be helped by anything short of Tsunade's abilities. Another Konoha shinobi would have been lost if Hari hadn't been present with his spells and potions. The outcome of this performance solidified the Shinobi Council's decision to permit the establishment of the Mahora clan in Konoha. What more could the boy accomplish if this was what he could accomplish in a straightforward demonstration? They kept watching the boy while he gave the doctor instructions on how to use the potions. For 2 more hours, Hari and the Hokage remained in the hospital, treating a few patients while discussing magic in general and his potential uses. After learning all they needed to know about him and his skills, the Shinobi Council had already departed. In 2 days, the Konoha Council would meet to discuss the establishment of the Mahora clan in Konoha, which made Hari happy. Hari examined Shinji before departing and observed that the bone in his arm had grown back properly. He advised the man to rest for a few days so that the arm could heal properly, and then he and the Hokage returned to the office to talk about the next phase of their plan: finding a place to call home. At the moment, Hari stood in front of a clan house that had been abandoned on the village's edge. The elderly leader gave a detailed explanation of why it hasn't been used since the Kyuubi attack, according to the Hokage. If Hari was being completely honest with himself, he enjoyed his future house because it was roomy and had a general layout that reminded him of the Japanese houses he had seen on television. With a smile, Hari said, "I'll take it, Hokage-sama. How much is this going to cost me?" With a cough, the Hokage took a piece of paper from his robe, looked at it, and then handed it to the inquisitive wizard. "The gold you brought were already appraised and converted into Ryo. That is your first statement of account under your name." When Hari saw how much he had, he nearly choked on the paper. Without taking his eyes off the paper, Hari questioned incredulously, "Damn. I haven't seen that much zeros in my entire life. Are you sure this is correct?" Sarutobi smiled. "Everything in that paper is correct. According to the shinobi I dispatched to handle the conversion, the manager of the bank said that the quality of your gold bars were exceptional and fetched a good price in the market. Considering how heavy they were, it fetched quite a hefty sum." Hari cursed, choking the Hokage. "Damn. To think that the gold I brought didn't make a dent from my account back home." Sarutobi questioned incredulously, "You mean to tell me that what you brought was only a small part of your entire inheritance?" Hari gave a headshake. "Trust me, Hokage-sama. The gold I brought with me only made use of one of my 10 vaults and it only took half of it. So, how much is the house and property? I'll process the necessary papers and I can sell it to you at a discounted price considering its status. Let's say, 10 million ryo." Sarutobi replied. The property was originally worth 50 million ryo, but since it required numerous repairs, the remaining funds would be used to renovate the entire property. Since Hari's current account was nearly in trillion, it wasn't like he needed the money anyhow. Hari pocketed the account statement and said, "I can live with that. So you're going to deduct it directly from my account in the bank?" When Hari gave him a cheeky smile, Sarutobi became anxious. "Yes. I suggest that you hire a few genin teams and a construction crew to help with the repairs. I can book you in a hotel for a month or two while your clan house is being constructed." Hari grinned and said, "No need, Hokage-sama. I'll take care of it." The Hokage looked at him incredulously. Hari made the decision to truly demonstrate to the man the power of magic. "Potter elves to me." 24 house elves in all their splendor were revealed when a loud pop reverberated throughout the compound. When Hokage saw the elves, he exclaimed, "What in the world are those?" "Those are house elves, Hokage-sama. You can say that they're magical servants, so to speak." "Anyway," Hari said to the elves. "Alright guys, this place will be our new home while I'm here. As you can see it needs a lot of repairs. Hop to boys." "Yes, Master Potter, sir," was yelled around the deserted clan house before the elves began to work their special kind of magic on it. When Sarutobi witnessed the destroyed house being rebuilt right before his eyes, he was astounded. He muttered a "kai" under his breath and shook his head in shock, but nothing he did changed the fact that he was still seeing the same thing. With a snap of their small fingers, the elves were patching up the clan compound piece by piece. It was incredible. The Hokage's stunned expression made Hari smile. "As you can see, the Mahora clan house will be up and running by tomorrow. All I need is the address of shops here in Konoha where I get the necessities and I'm good to go." He laughed. Sarutobi looked at Hari incredulously, then shook his head. "Nothing is ever dull around you, Hari. Welcome to Konoha, my boy." The Hokage wanted the Hari to finish his home before proceeding, so the meeting with the other council members was rescheduled for a week later. Since Hari was already a resident of Konoha, he was permitted to finish building his clan home. However, his clan status would need to be determined later. Since he was now a resident, Hari wasn't really in a rush. The clan house was completed in a single day because of the elves' unceasing efforts. Even though some of the small houses in the compound had to be rebuilt from scratch because they were either too old or too damaged to be salvaged, it went quickly because the elves would only fix and clean up. After everything was finished, Hari gave the elves instructions to furnish his new home with furniture from Potter Manor and some stored in the vaults. He needed a place for magic, so he made some necessary changes. Hari and the elves made the decision to set up a potion lab in one of the smaller homes that was connected to the main house by a covered walkway. After a few spells and reinforcement wards, it was ready to go. The library had to be enlarged because it was too small, and before it was fully stocked, some shelves were moved from Potter Manor. Because Hari did not want the original books to leave the Potter estate, he made copies of them to put in his new library. Since he wanted to work part-time in the hospital, Hari asked the elves to bring in some books on healing magic. He also asked them to bring in some books on enchanting because he was already considering ways to help his new village strengthen its military force and prepare his son for battle magic in case he ever joined the Konoha shinobi force. Naturally, the elves took over the kitchen, and Hari was asked to leave. He was told that food would need to be purchased from Wizarding Britain because they don't know many recipes for the different foods served in the village, but he promised to fix that as soon as possible with a quick trip to the library or bookstore. Hari thought it was funny that his elves were excited about learning new techniques to prepare food. Hari finally added wards to the Mahora clan compound for a day. Given that this was the shinobi world, He needed to confirm that the wards were capable of protecting him while he was inside. In order to prevent anyone from harming anyone inside the compound, he first installed an intent-based ward. He needed both insect and animal repellent and basic weather protection because he was close to Training Ground 44, which the Hokage claimed had many wild animals that would love to eat his flesh. Additionally, he installed a battle-based ward that was linked to the intent-based ward in order to stun anyone who dared to enter his house, particularly those who were able to bypass the ward's repel feature. For extra security, he added durability runes and reinforcement to the clan walls. He learned from Dumbledore's book that the elemental nation possesses a number of special abilities that could be dangerous if not adequately countered, which is why the 2 final precautions were required. Hari was grateful that the wards were powered up to maximum efficiency without the need for a recharge because it appeared that the powering runes responded to the ambient chakra in the air. Since chakra increased his ward's power and might be used in conjunction with magic for a variety of purposes, he vowed to learn more about its nature. He had plenty of time to do it, so he wasn't in a rush. Hari felt uneasy. He was currently presenting his petition to establish the Mahora clan in the village to the Konoha council. He was already a resident, so there was no issue there, but forming a new clan was a serious matter because, as the leader of his own clan, he would be involved in the governance of Konoha as a member of its council. There were many whispers in the room as Sarutobi said, "Thank you all for coming to this meeting of the Konoha council. We are here to discuss one major topic, and that is the creation of the Mahora clan here in the village." Those who had witnessed Hari's abilities in the hospital a week prior were the few who didn't and appeared at ease. Would the petitioner come forward and speak his claim? Hari walked forward to the council and bowed deeply in respect, taking it as his cue. "Good morning, Honorable Council of Konoha. My name is Mahora Hari, a recent addition to your fine village. To the Hokage's suggestion, I would like to request your approval to start up my own clan in the village." Homura smiled and said, "We welcome you to our village, Mahora-san. However, the creation of a clan requires you to possess a bloodline, as well as provide a contribution to the village in terms of both ability and economically. Are you qualified on both counts?" Hari smiled back at the elder and nodded. "If it pleases the council, I would like to explain the bloodline of my clan, as well as some demonstration to what I can contribute for Konoha as a whole." Hari awaited the council's consideration of his proposal. With interest in their eyes, one of the Konoha elders motioned for him to continue, so he didn't have to wait long. Hari waved his hand, making the Hokage's table float up. "As my clan name suggests, my bloodline is to utilize the force known as magic, or Mahu, to affect reality." It was viewed with wide-eyed surprise by all. Hari waved his hand once more to put the table back on the floor. Since more proof was needed, he began conjuring objects from around the room, primarily furniture that is typically found in the Gryffindor common room. "As you can see, with the use of the unique energy my bloodline possess, I can affect reality through the use of spells. What you just saw is a non-verbal spell to levitate the table." He began switching the different objects in the room to other objects to show off his other spells. "That is the creation aspect of my bloodline called conjuration. As you can see, I can create anything as long as I know what the object looks like, though there are certain limitations. For example, I cannot create metals due to their unique properties. What I did is another branch of my bloodline called transfiguration, the ability to change one object to another. Again, there are certain limitations, like I cannot change an object to a metallic property, only an imitation of it. Conjuration and transfiguration are actually unrestricted, with the exception of manipulating and creating gold, silver, and bronze because of their magical qualities. The economy would collapse if they found out that he can instantly produce gold using the Elder Wand. Of course, nobody will be harmed by what they don't know, and the Hokage recommended restricting his bloodline in order to prevent questions that needed to be avoided. "Amazing," said a civilian council member, casting a curious glance at Hari. When Hari saw it, he mentally noted that he should stay away from the man. Since Uncle Vernon frequently displayed that expression in his numerous interactions with his clients, he was familiar with the look of greed everywhere. "Is that all you can do, Mahora-san?" Before removing a shrunken trunk from his pocket and setting it on the table in front of him, Hari stated, "Actually, no." To undo the charm he had put on it earlier, he tapped it with a finger. Hari opened the trunk, took out several potions, and put it in plain sight of everyone in the room. "What you just saw was a spell called a shrinking charm, allowing me to shrink any items to a smaller size for easy transport. All I did was cancel the spell. These are what I call potions, a unique branch of my bloodline allowing me to utilize unique ingredients to produce an elixir of sorts to different effects." With a curious glance at Hari, Shimura Danzo asked, What do the sea potions do? Even though Hari was tired of the man, he was able to detect a healthy dose of curiosity from him, though he was unable to pinpoint it. Later, he promised he would ask the Hokage. A week ago when I arrived here in Konoha, Hokage-sama asked me to demonstrate the capability of my potions. With some members of the Shinobi Council who were available to watch my demonstration on such short notice, we adjourned to the hospital and started treating the patients there using potions and some of my healing techniques. Many in the room had a look of recognition in their eyes. A councilman who was observing Hari with admiration said, "Wait, you mean you were the one who healed my brother's lung problem?" Lung problem? Hari asked bewilderedly before recalling the patient he had been treating. "Oh, you mean Yanagi Kuro, who was suffering from a disease known as tuberculosis. Did I get it right?" "That's right, Kuro is my younger brother. My name is Ichigo, Yanagi Ichigo. My brother called you a miracle worker because you fixed his lung issue in a matter of minutes, something doctors had been trying to do for years. You have my gratitude, Mahora-sama." Ichigo made a bow of respect, which caused everyone to stare at the wizard in astonishment. "You are most welcome, Yanagi-sama. Like what I told your brother, I was more than happy to help." Hari replied with a grin. Ichigo asked, "Are you going to make these wonderful potions of yours available in public, Mahora Dono?" Because he was certain that the village would greatly benefit from whatever the man had on hand. Hari nodded, "Of course, Yanagi-sama. Once I am settled in, I am going to open up a shop to make my potions available to the public. In fact, I am donating a batch of needed potions to the hospital and hold a seminar of sorts to teach the doctors and nurses there of their use. Konoha is my home now and I will do everything in my power to help it. In fact, I am already in negotiations with him to donate and provide some potions to various departments in the shinobi ranks to aid in their activities, for example." Hari took out a clear liquid in a vial from his luggage. This is a potion called Veritaserum, or otherwise called a truth potion. 3 drops on a person's tongue would make them answer any question you ask for an hour unless an antidote is given. However, I will be restricting the use of this potion since it would be disastrous if the wrong person get their hands on it. Everyone looked in wonder at the colorless potion and nodded. When they responded, Hari grinned. Given how beneficial the potion would be for the T&I department, the Hokage was beaming at Hari. With a deep sense of respect in his eyes, Danzo said, "That is much appreciated, Mahora-san." Despite being a warhawk and running a clandestine organization beneath Konoha, he was merely a devoted soldier who would stop at nothing to defend the village. The man in front of him has just made a strong bloodline available to the village, providing special remedies to improve everyone's quality of life. He initially considered kidnapping the man to learn the origin of his powers, but after hearing the justification and seeing how he interacted with the Yanagi head, he decided it would be foolish to try to test the figurative golden goose. For the sake of Konoha, it was preferable to leave the man alone and assist him from a distance. With a smile and a playful twinkle in his eyes, the Hokage said to Hari, "I think we have seen enough of your demonstration, Mahora-san. Would you please step out for a few minutes while the Konoha Council deliberates on your request to set up a clan here in Konoha? You will be called back when a decision is reached." To the council's further amazement, Hari nodded and waved his hand to put everything back in his trunk. He put the trunk back in his pocket after shrinking it. He bowed as he left the room, leaving the Konoha Council behind him, stunned and excited. With a curious glance at his former teammate, Homura said, "What do you know about him, Sarutobi? I can see in your eyes that you know something we don't." Sarutobi smoked his pipe and asked, "What do you want to know?" "Well, where he came from would be a start, and how he came by his bloodline and why we haven't heard of such a powerful bloodline before." After that question, Sarutobi remained silent. Hari had told him the truth about his situation and wanted to help the young man start over here in the Lifa, no pun intended. He needed the council's support if he was going to assist the boy, no man. Since he needed to be honest now, he chose to share what Hari had told him. Besides, he had permission to do so from the boy. With a burst of ki, Sarutobi made a serious statement, "Before I tell you everything I know about him, I want to state that the information will not leave this room. It is in sulfur monosulfide rank secret, punishable by death. Understood?" Everyone in the room nodded, and then, to the surprise of the entire council, he revealed all he knew about Mahora Hari. After learning that there are millions of people with the same bloodline as the boy, the reactions ranged from amazement to fear. Fortunately, the fear subsided when Sarutobi revealed that Hari had sealed the doorway connecting their worlds, making it impossible to open. Of course it was a lie, but it was a necessary one. The room was extremely silent after Sarutobi finished telling his story, with each council member quietly processing the new information. Why did you think he sealed the doorway, Sarutobi? Danzo responded. He secretly feared that hundreds of these magicals might invade Konoha and wreak havoc on the countryside. According to Hari, the doorway on his side of the world was relatively sealed and hidden from everyone, making sure that our world stayed separate from theirs. Upon arriving here in our world, he immediately sealed this side of the doorway to prevent anyone from coming, and only he can unseal it if necessary. Sarutobi continued. Another deception to reinforce the truth. He didn't want his kind to destroy his chance of a new life. He wanted to get away from everything, which I quite agree with him. His life has never been pleasant, much worse than what a shinobi had to go through. Everyone gave a nod of agreement. A boy who was dragged into a war he didn't need, lost families and friends, and ultimately prevailed against all odds, only to be shunned rather than hailed as a hero. It was depressing. In his typical monotone, Shibi questioned, is he going to join the shinobi ranks? I'm not really sure. Sarutobi replied. He told me that he was thinking about it and would put the decision on hold until he learns everything there is to know about shinobis. Despite the abilities he possesses, shinobi is a whole new lifestyle for one of his kind. Everybody gave a nod. After witnessing the boy's abilities firsthand, Sume remarked, he seemed to enjoy spending time in the hospital. Maybe we can ask him to put his skills there to good use. The idea was met with enthusiastic nods from everyone. Sarutobi caught everyone's attention when he said, that is his decision, though I have a few suggestions in mind if you're all open to it. He grinned to himself as he thought, hook, line and sinker. One of the ANBUs told Hari that the council had made a decision on his petition, so he went back to the council chamber. Following the exchange of pleasantries, the Hokage, who was chosen to represent the council, got things started. Mahora Hari, it is a pleasure of the council to inform you that your request to start a clan here in Konoha is granted with our blessing. However, there are some questions and conditions that needed to be answered. Are you willing to hear them out? Waiting for the Hokage to continue, Hari nodded. As he read the list of conditions and questions the council had written down for him, Sarutobi asked, good, concerning your bloodline, will it be passed on to your sons or daughters? According to Hari, who twisted some facts to fit this world's conception of a bloodline and magic, that is a yes and a no. Judging from what I learned of my bloodline, it depends on genetics and luck. My father was a pureblood Mahora while my mother is not, although she has the ability. As a result, I gained the ability to access the bloodline. However, considering the amount of magic I have in my system, I would say that there is a good possibility that those I sire would possess the same abilities I do, given the fact that I train them in their use. Excellent. You see, in order to be a clan with a bloodline, the Konoha Charter states that a clan status may only be given if the bloodline can be passed on. Since the Hokage had previously asked him this question but had done so again for the council's benefit, Hari nodded in agreement. He awaited the subsequent query. You mentioned to me before that there is a possibility of some people having similar abilities you have. If such a person does exist, are you willing to teach that person? I will, Hokage-sama, on the stipulation that they will become a part of my clan, since what I will be teaching them can be considered as a clan secret. The rest of the council mimicked Sarutobi's nod of agreement. After all, clan secrets were heavy. I won't have it any other way. Do you have the necessary financial resources to start your clan? Armed with this line of inquiry, Hari produced several copies of his account statement by casting a Jimino charm. He carried the copies to the council by levitation. When they saw how much money he had, it was safe to say that they were taken aback. Sume eyed the paper in her hands and said, I guess that answers that question. Damn, I haven't seen that much zeros in my entire life. Hari laughed and remarked, I had the same reaction as well, Sume-sama. Grinning, Sume remarked, I don't doubt that, Hari dono. Hari was taken aback by her respectful address to his name before she smiled at the untamed woman, who smiled back. Since all seems to be in order, it is to my happiness that the Mahora clan is now active in Konohagakure no Sato with Mahora Hari as its head. Congratulations, Hari. When the council gave it back, Hari bowed. Thank you, honorable council. You spoke of conditions. Indeed. The Mahora clan is now a part of the Konoha rosters. However, there are some conditions to be met before you are given the privilege a clan deserves. Are you ready to listen to them? Hari gave a nod. First, before you take your seat here in the Konoha Council as mandated by the Konoha Charter, you are required to study the law of the land and how the village is run, from military to economics. You will be provided the necessary materials to make this happen. You will be tested by Nara Shikaku to see to your proficiency. Is this condition acceptable? Since he had already planned to learn the laws of his new home, Hari nodded and said, acceptable and agreed upon, Hokage-sama. Second, you will given a tutor to teach you the basics of the shinobi art and see if it is compatible to your bloodline. Agreed, but with stipulations, Hokage-sama. I want to make sure that it is properly scheduled since I will be undergoing my own study in the nature of chakra. I noticed a positive reaction of my magic to the ambient chakra surrounding my home, and I want to find out everything I can to avoid problems in the future. Since they all wanted to stay out of trouble, especially with such a strong bloodline, they all nodded in agreement. Will you share these findings to the council to be added to the Konoha archive? Yes. It is to the benefit of the village after all, though I will withhold information that would give people in-depth secrets to the various abilities of my bloodline outside of the clan. Sarutobi glanced at the other council members to gauge their response. He sighed inwardly in relief as everyone nodded. There are still obstacles to overcome. Agreed. Next, you will have to choose a profession that would help the village. You already mentioned that you plan to make your potions available, controlled of course, but the council has decided that it would be a good idea to choose a profession instead of focusing your life as a shopkeeper. Since he had already discussed this with the Hokage, Hari nodded. Agreed, Hokage-sama. I would be glad to spend 2 days, 4 hours a day, in the hospital to help using my bloodline. In the future, it is quite possible that I would join the shinobi ranks, though that is still being deliberated. That caused everyone in the council to sigh with relief, which made Hari laugh to himself. Agreed. If you do decide to become a shinobi of Konoha, you will be tested to determine your exact rank. Keep in mind that the abilities of your bloodline will not be the only basis of your rank. You need to be more than capable in the shinobi arts to become a shinobi of the village. Hari, who was already eager to learn the shinobi arts, nodded in agreement. He wouldn't want to miss the chance to arrange for a tutor with the council's approval. I understand. I look forward to learning the shinobi arts with the aid of the tutor you will be assigning me. Hari and the other council members shook their heads in agreement, saying, all conditions are mentioned and accounted for. Any questions? If that is the case, then I would like to welcome the Mahora clan into our ranks. Congratulations. Hari could only smile with joy. Now he had a safe place in his new home. A year has passed since the Konoha Council approved the formation of the Mahora clan, during which time Mahora Hari, the clan's first leader, studied hard to solidify his standing in the village. With the help of the Hokage's resources, Hari read through the numerous books that were provided to him, including the Konoha Charter, and learned about a variety of topics related to the village, such as how it is run and the duties that shinobi have both inside and outside of missions. For the first time in his life, Hari wasn't compelled to learn because of a prophecy, so if he was being completely honest with himself, he enjoyed the chore. It was a welcome experience, and he simply learned because he wanted to. He was at home making potions or tending to the greenhouse that housed many of the magical plants he used for his very profitable potions business when he wasn't in the hospital assisting the doctors and nurses with their patients. Rather than opening a store in the village, he moved his potions to the hospital, where Hari was appointed head of a department provided by the Hokage. He permitted the public to purchase the various potions he kept on hand after training a few physicians and nurses on them. However, strict measures were taken to ensure that they didn't leave the village's boundaries without the Hokage or Hari's express consent, and a log was made to ensure that the potions weren't overused or sold in excess. He wished to prevent other villages from using the potions without their consent. That was safer and would provide Konoha with the much-needed monopoly. They merely told the outside world that Konoha had a special way of treating a variety of health issues because the potions weren't made available outside the village. A week after the news got out, Konoha Hospital actually saw their first group of patients, roughly 20 in total. Fortunately, Hari only had to attend to those who required his personal touch because the doctors and nurses had been fully briefed. In relation to potions, he also gave several batches of specific potions to the various shinobi departments. He began by giving Ibiki and Anko a batch of verdiserum, which was secured in a charmed box that could only be opened by the two, Hari, and the Hokage. Additionally, he provided Anbu with some potions that would be very useful on high-profile missions, such as healing potions, Pepper Up. Since Hari found that it can completely replenish chakra without any negative effects, Polyjuice for the ideal disguise, and the like. Naturally, in order to prevent his subordinates from becoming overly reliant on these special resources, the Hokage would need to grant permission to use them. It was only made available in dire situations, and they were still used as a last resort in the event that their skills were determined to be insufficient. Nara Shikaku, who oversaw Hari's instruction in the subject, gave him a proficiency test on the laws of Konoha, which he has already passed. He breezed through the various laws in just 6 months, thanks in large part to his occlumency training, and responded to the questions in a similar way. After 7 months, he assumed his role as the head of his clan and a member of the Konoha Council. Hari found this role to be rather dull, but he persisted because he had to be there. Hari also examined each student at the Konoha Academy to determine whether they were capable of using magic at the Hokage's request. Although the test had so far yielded negative results, some intriguing findings made it worthwhile. For instance, Hari found that chakra was of a similar type that some magical discipline would greatly benefit the practitioner, even if the students or shinobis didn't have magic in their system to warrant the use of spells or magical objects. In order to help them properly focus their bloodline and create mental shields to protect their own minds while scanning others, Hari gave them some books on occlumency. One such discipline was mind magics, which he found to be comparable to the methods exclusively employed by the Yamanaka clan. Since they lacked the active magic necessary to perform either passive or active mind probes, legitimacy was beyond their capabilities. Inoichi accepted the gifts with gratitude and assured Hari that, once he had mastered it himself, he would make occlumency a regular practice in their clan going forward. Due to the discipline's capability to improve one's focus, he made the book available to the rest of the shinobi population, though he omitted a few information that he deemed dangerous. Everyone was pleased, but the seasoned shinobis were particularly pleased because the discipline greatly enhanced their chakra control and made using jutsus easier. In an effort to improve the learning curve for students, the Konoha Council even considered including occlusive training as a subject in their academy curriculum. As of right now, they were still researching the concept to make sure it would benefit the village rather than ruin it from the inside out. Hari's shinobi arts lessons were going well because of his part-time tutor, academy instructor Amino Iruka, who taught him on the weekends inside his clan's compound. Hari added the academy instructor to the wards with an open invitation to visit at any time after conducting a quick mental examination and concluding that he was a good-hearted individual with no personal grudges. Since the Chunin enjoyed Hari's Western food, which Hari shared with the elves to the delight of the little blithers, Iruka thanked him profusely. Iruka assisted Hari in unlocking his chakra in the shinobi arts, which was relatively simple given that the wizard had total control over his body, mind, and magic. Hari found that, despite some restrictions and distinctions, chakra was precisely the same as magic in this world. Chakra, for instance, was a blend of mental, spiritual, and physical energy. In contrast, magic came solely from the soul and was channeled through the body. According to his research, chakra possessed unique qualities that magic was unable to duplicate. For one thing, magic could keep one's health at optimal levels, extending one's life. The same effect is also provided by chakra, albeit more slowly. Additionally, by manipulating chakra, one could improve a body's physical performance, something magic could not accomplish without the use of spells. Hari used his free time to start practicing chakra control exercises as soon as he had unlocked his chakra. Being proficient in battle magic, which he quickly picked up because he wanted to be on par with shinobis in case something unfortunate happened that required his knowledge, especially if he joined the shinobi ranks, he had no interest in learning jutsus. Walking on trees and water was energizing for the wizard/shinobi in training. In order to help him train his body to use chakra and enhance his general physical performance, speed and strength being essential for any shinobi, according to the mana, he was also introduced to Maeda Gai, the resident expert in taijutsu, or hand-to-hand combat. After a year of training, Hari's strength and speed were easily on par with Chunin's, and he kept getting better. Even though he was sweating, he enjoyed the daily training regimen and had no plans to stop anytime soon. Like his increasing proficiency in the shinobi arts, Hari's study of magic was also expanding rapidly. Because he worked in the hospital, Hari essentially rifled through his Potter Manor library, looking for any medical texts he could locate. He even allowed the elves to search the British magical world for comparable books. He could confidently claim to have the greatest collection of medical texts in the history of the magical world after 2 months of his elves' ceaseless labor. He combined the many healing and diagnostic spells he learned from these books with some anatomy lessons he received from the numerous doctors at Konoha Hospital, who were more than willing to assist him because they knew it would be very beneficial in the long run. Shinobi needed all the assistance they could get because their job was dangerous. Since he wasn't a shinobi in the first place, he couldn't be called a medic nin, so after a half-year of study and a hospital exam, he was certified as a healer of Konohagakure no Sato. He was compared by many of the shinobi and physicians to Tsunade of the Sannin, the Slug Princess, whose medical skill was well known throughout the elemental nations. Hari pretended to be pleased to be compared to such a historical and gifted person after reading about Tsunade in the numerous books Shikaku gave him. He took particular care to overlook the fact that Tsunade was a chronic gambler who had never won a game in her life. Although he made a special effort to learn elemental spells to fit his status as a resident of the elemental nations, Hari also began to improve his battle magic skills. Without using his wands, he was able to perform the most complex lightning-based magic after discovering that he had a talent for lighting spells. He picked up these spells quickly and even developed his own lightning-based attacks by fusing magic and chakra, which had more potent and devastating effects. Hari was also tasked with researching the tailed beasts of the elemental nations as a favor to the Hokage. He was initially completely incredulous that such strong creatures existed, but after the Hokage informed him of the beast's past, he started to believe. Hari agreed to study bijus and their Jinchurikis after describing the Kyuubi attack that occurred 8 years prior. Because he had access to the Hokage's library, Hari discovered that bijus in their containers resembled Horcrux, a fact that made him shudder. But that was where the similarities ended. He discovered that Jinchurikis could harness the power of the bijus they possess and use it as their own, albeit with restrictions because humans weren't made to manage such power in the first place. Hari described it as a symbiotic relationship in most cases. The Jinchuriki used some of their power as payment, and the bijus kept living safely inside their containers, making sure that no power-hungry idiot would use their abilities. Although seals were in place to prevent possession, the bijus would typically battle for dominance with their Jinchuriki inside their heads. When the Hokage told Hari about Kumo's 2 Jinchurikis, who possessed total control over their bijus, this became clear. The Ichibi no Tanuki of Suna's Jinchuriki, a murderous sycophant despite being a child, was the sole exception to this rule. When Hari was summoned to a private meeting with the elders in the Hokage's office, it became evident why the Hokage had made him study the bijus and Jinchurikis. So let me get this straight, Konoha currently has a Jinchuriki and it is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi? Hari was incredulous. At the moment, he was dressed similarly to the Hyugas. Hari is dressed similarly to Neji in the Shippuden arc, but in blue rather than white. The Hokage gave a nod. You're correct, Hari. I think I don't need to explain the complexities of Jinchurikis and bijus since I asked you to study about them? Hari gave a nod. Curious, he said, yes, Hokage-sama. However, why tell me this now? With a straight face, Sarutobi blurted out, you see, Uzumaki Naruto is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Whoa. You mean that blonde kid with whisker-like marks on his cheeks, wearing orange, and loved to prank people? Hari was incredulous. The 2 elders frowned, the side of the Hokage's mouth quirked, and Danzo remained as expressionless as ever. Curious, Sarutobi said, that's the one. How did you know him? Well, I was walking around the village when he came out of a store as if the hounds of hell were after him. I laughed myself hoarse when I saw the people inside the store in color orange. That kid is a great prankster, Hari laughed and then sighed. Is the Kyuubi the reason why many of the villagers kept glaring at him? Sarutobi gave a sorrowful nod. Despite how the Yondaime Hokage wanted Naruto to be seen as a hero for holding the Kyuubi, some of the villagers think of him as the biju he is holding, which is why I asked you to study Jinchurikis for a favor. So what do you need? Is there a way to determine if the Kyuubi can influence Naruto? I trust the Yondaime's seal, but I wonder if it is possible to use one of your spells to determine if it has an active influence on the boy or not in order to change the civilian council's mind about the boy. That is a tall order. From what I can determine, a Jinchuriki can communicate with their biju via mindscape. If that is the case, I can easily do a mind probe to determine if it is trying to possess the boy or not. However, I can only do that if Naruto is directly in contact with the beast. If not, then it is a premature move. Tell me, ever since Kyuubi was sealed inside the boy, has there been any occurrence that gives evidence to the biju being active? It was Danzo who responded. No, ever since the sealing, there were no signs of the Kyuubi being active since the use of its chakra would announce its presence to every shinobi in the village. However, it was discovered that Naruto gained some abilities from the biju he holds in his stomach. Hari questioned inquisitively, oh, what abilities? Regeneration, was Danzo's first response. Wounds that would take weeks to heal only take a few hours for the boy. Aside from that, the boy has increased stamina and an overly large chakra reserves. Hari grimaced. Chakra was a concoction of spiritual and physical energy. Naruto's stamina must be extremely high if he possessed a lot of chakra for his age. Ouch. No wonder the boy is always on the run. With stamina like that, keeping still would be a chore. If he ever became a shinobi, then chakra control would be one of his biggest hurdles. Sarutobi nodded and said, agreed, before asking his query. So as of now, there is nothing you can do to determine Kyuubi's activity inside Naruto unless the boy came in contact with the beast? Hari nodded his head in agreement and said, for now. Don't worry, I'll try to find a way to determine it without rousing suspicion. As far as I can tell, it is similar to a spirit possession in my world. I can discreetly hit the boy with a spell if I ever come across him and see if there is an active possession from the Biju. I will report whatever findings I have as soon as I have it. With a thankful grin, Sarutobi said, perfect. Thanks for doing this for us, Hari-kun. Anyway, how are your shinobi studies coming along? Hari smiled. Doing well if I do say so myself. I have mastered my chakras similar to how I control my bloodline. I can do tree walking and water walking with ease, and I can keep it up for hours without problem. I haven't learned any shinobi techniques as of yet except for using chakra to enhance my strength and speed. However, I am compensating the lack of jutsus with battle magic. In fact, I find that I am quite adept in using lightning-based attacks. He was beaming with pride. Homura inquired inquisitively, oh, who's teaching you to use chakra physically? Curious as to how a teenager could pick up the shinobi arts so quickly. He was aware of the boy's potential, but he was unsure of its extent. Hari responded, making everyone cringe, made a guy. What? He's not that bad. When Kaharu thought of the spandex-clad Junin, he shuddered and said, you're not serious, Hari. I don't know how you can stand his quirks. Hari gave a shrug. Well, all I can say that he is a unique. I just ignore his quirks and leave it at that. I just ignore him when he starts prattling about his springtime of youth. Sarutobi looked at him for a long moment and then nodded respectfully. He respected anyone who could put up with Maeda Guy and his quirks. Hari received an emergency message from Hishi and was now in the Hyuga compound. The head of the Hyuga clan cornered him as soon as he arrived and asked if he could assist his wife. He learned that Hiyoshi's wife, Hitomi, had recently given birth to his second daughter, Hanabi, and that none of the Hyuga medics could assist her because of her rapidly declining health. He was called right away to see if he could help her because of this, and he agreed right away. Hari instantly performed a diagnostic spell on Hitomi to ascertain her current state of health after being carried into the room where she was unconscious. To put it mildly, what he discovered was startling. Hari questioned the head of the Hyuga clan, Hishi-sama, did you know that your wife is currently suffering from a potent poison that is slowly killing her? What? How? Hishi yelled, his face displaying obvious rage. I don't know how, but from what my spells found out, poison is currently destroying her body from the inside, shutting down the major organs. If left untreated, she only has a day or so to live. Desperately, Hishi asked, can you do anything to help her? After giving a nod, Hari took out a bottle containing his supply of Bezoar from his magical satchel, which contained all of his medical supplies. Before opening the bottle and extracting a stone, Hari told him, this is what I call a Bezoar. It has the effect of neutralizing any poison in this side of the elemental nations. I know this for a fact since I saved quite a number of patients with this little thing. He approached Hitomi and used a spell to make it easier for her to swallow the Bezoar. He used the same diagnostic spell a few minutes later, and the outcome made him happy. Hishi instantly noticed his smile. A worried Hishi inquired, what happened? Did it work? It's working as we speak. From what I discovered, the Bezoar is counteracting the poison. In an hour or two, it would be completely gone for her system. However, she needs to rest, and I will give you a bunch of healing potions to administer to her for a week to counteract the damage the poison did to her body. Since she was poisoned, I suggest that you restrict access to this room. I'll place a ward around the room to make sure that anyone who intends to do her harm wouldn't be able to get past it. Do I have your permission to do so? Hishi bowed respectfully and said, you have my permission and my thanks, Mahora Dono. Hari gave the man a shoulder pat. Call me Hari or Mahora-san. There is no need for such formalities between friends, Hishi-sama. Hishi grinned and said, then I extend the same courtesy, Hari-san. Hari pulled out his holly wand and said, great, now let me get to work to ensure Hitomi-san's safety. He then used a minor repelling charm and an intent-based ward to ensure that anyone attempting to harm her wouldn't make it past the room's edge. He was aware that it would be adequate because Hishi would make sure his wife was adequately safeguarded. Hari took extra care to check on Hanabi before departing to make sure the poison wasn't also affecting the child and harming a sleeping Hinata. Hishi and the head of the Hyuga clan were both grateful that the infant and his oldest daughter were not affected. Hari was pleased to have saved a life and made a friend in the process, and he smiled as he left the Hyuga compound 3 hours later. A disturbance at the front desk caught Hari's attention as he was wrapping up his shift in the hospital. A silver-haired Anbu in a dog mask was arguing with a nurse while holding a boy who was bleeding. When Hari saw the boy's multiple wounds, he instantly recognized him as Naruto. His blood boiled instantly. With a voice that tolerated no nonsense, Hari demanded, "What in the world is going on here?" "Mahora-sama. This Anbu here is making a commotion?" the nurse asked, glaring at Naruto with contempt, which Hari noticed right away. She appeared to be among those who recognized the boy as the Kyuubi he was holding. The Anbu yelled angrily, "If you just do your job and treat Naruto, then we won't be having this problem in the first place." Hari had had enough and decided to take command. After receiving a nod from the Anbu, Hari turned to the frowning nurse and said, "Enough. Bickering now would not save the boy's life. Anbu-san, follow me and I will treat Naruto personally." With a wave of his hand, he floated the injured Naruto out of the Anbu's hands, shocking the man. "Kimiko-san, I suggest that you start thinking of your priorities. All healers and doctors made an oath to treat all patients, no matter their status. If you don't think that you can follow that oath, I suggest you resign before I bring this to the Hokage. You have been warned. Follow me, Anbu-san." Hari headed straight to his office, where he kept all of his medical supplies. In order to treat patients with more serious issues than the resident physicians could handle, the Hokage assigned him his own treatment room, which resembled an emergency ward. Naruto floated next to him as he walked quickly to get there. Silently, the Anbu followed. As soon as they got there, Hari summoned a note for the Hokage to come to his office right away and levitated the boy over to the bed. He dispatched the bird with the note and called Fox. After the boy's clothing vanished, Hari asked the Anbu what happened, as he began to cast diagnostic spells on the boy. He was so incensed at the sight of the boy's mutilated body that his magic began to lash out angrily, shaking the room and frightening the Anbu to his core. Fortunately, his occlumency shields kept his raging magic under control, stifling his emotions until only a chilly mask covered his face. The dog-masked Anbu reported wearily, feeling the power emanating from the man. A mob cornered Naruto in one of the side alleys in the entertainment district and attacked him. "I got there in time before one of the villagers was about to run him through with a sword. After making sure that the perpetrators were apprehended, I immediately scooped up Naruto and came here. You know the rest." It was frightening to witness the power up close, even though he had heard about the new Mahora clan and its enigmatic leader. With a nod, Hari held a clipboard in front of him and had a magical pen write the outcome of the diagnostic spell he had used on the boy. Hari clenched his teeth in rage as he read about the numerous injuries, including third-degree burns, internal bleeding, fractured bones, lacerations, concussions, and missing teeth. It was useless what the villagers were doing. Blaming the boy for past abuses committed by his prisoner, it was not acceptable. A few minutes later, as Hari was tending to Naruto's injuries, the Hokage showed up and explained the outcome of his research. After the treatment was completed 30 minutes later, Naruto was soundly asleep on the bed, completely recovered and free of any scars. Hari sighed and said, "Hokage-sama, this has got to stop. This is the third time I treated Naruto since the other doctors wouldn't even give him the time of day. This time, the results of the attack are much worse." With a somber expression, the Hokage said, "I know." His shoulder then sagged in surrender. "No matter how much I try to convince the civilian council that Naruto is innocent of the Biju's crime, they wouldn't listen. That is one of the reasons why I asked you to examine him to give testament to my claims." Hari gave the elderly leader a smile. "You're in luck. After treating Naruto, I took advantage of the situation to check on the boy's physical and mental health. I easily determined the presence of the Kyuubi inside him, but there is a very strong barrier separating him from the boy's mind. From the nature of the barrier, I can say that only Naruto could pass through it and the Biju is safely behind it with no possibility of possessing the boy whatsoever." The dog-masked Anbu sighed in relief, followed by Sarutobi. "Is there a way to convince the council of your findings?" Hari hummed, lost in thought. I can always attest to it by giving them a wizard's oath since they know the repercussion of me lying with it active. Other than that, nothing I can think of would do." With a look of obvious relief on his face, Sarutobi said, "Let me consider that for a few days. If such an event is necessary, I will call you to a council meeting. Are you okay with that?" Hari said, "No problem, Hokage-sama," and then scowled. "What will happen to Naruto?" "The same as always." Hari was not at all pleased with that response. "Is he living in an orphanage? Considering that he is still 10 years old. If my guess is correct, he should be attending the academy now." "No, the orphanage threw him out before you came to Konoha. I had him situated in one of the apartments I owned and he is the only resident there. To answer your other question, yes, Naruto is currently attending the academy. In fact, it's his first year there right now. Hari frowned as memories of his time spent with the Dursleys came flooding back to him. I see. Why isn't the boy adopted then? Number 10-year-old boy should live on his own. There were multiple instances that the clans wanted to adopt Naruto, but the civilian council kept getting in the way. Since Naruto is not a shinobi, he is currently under the control of the civilian heads. There is nothing I can do unless Naruto became a shinobi, and until then, I can only try to protect him from afar. Sarutobi admitted while deep in thought. He had a thought that made him smile. With a cheeky smile, Hari declared, I have a plan. When it came to Naruto, Hari's strategy was straightforward. Keep him safe, keep him healthy, and keep his identity a secret. With bells on, magic made this plan possible, so Hari had no trouble carrying it out. In that sense, magic was just cool. Hari tricked Dog into taking him to the boy's apartment to set up the required wards so the boy wouldn't have to worry about mobs attacking him in his own home, while Naruto was still sleeping after his near-death experience. Once there, he unleashed a barrage of curses that would have made even the most ardent pirate shudder. Hari was so angry that Dog even scampered away from the aura he was giving off. In order to repel anyone who harbored resentment toward Naruto and intended to attack him in his own house, Hari used the Elder Wand to create an intent-based repelling ward after regaining control over his rage-induced magic. However, the Hokage pointed out that such a protection would cause the boy more trouble in the future, especially if the civilians brought it up to the council that the Kyuubi was protecting the boy with its demonic skills. He was tempted to put up battle wards to shock everyone. Hari had to alter the wards to have an effect akin to a notice me not charm connected to how it would repel attackers in order to prevent such issues. The ward would merely alter their memories or implant new ones, allowing them to remember something significant and continue on their way, rather than forcing them to leave the apartment complex. Hari didn't like how straightforward and indirect it was, but it was required. After correctly activating and powering the protections, Hari entered Naruto's house and grimaced at the filth the boy lived in. He transformed everything into suitable furniture with a wave of his wand, allowing the boy to live comfortably. He mentally noted that he should let the Hokage know about it so that the boy's inquiries about the interior change would be explained away as the result of the elderly leader's kindness and his concealment of his involvement. His next destination was the boy's closet, where he charmed them all into porkies that, in the event that the mob cornered him, would instantly teleport him back to his house. In order for the enchantment to activate when the boy was experiencing extreme fear or panic, and if his guards weren't present to save him, he made sure to tie it to the boy's feelings. After that, Hari looked around the kitchen and was struck by how many ramen cups the boy had in his cabinets. It would appear that the boy's diet was limited to ramen, which is why he was shorter than his classmates. For heaven's sake, the boy ate ramen almost every day. It was evident that it wasn't healthy. In addition to his kitchen staff demanding more work from him than he could supply, he needed to discuss with the Hokage the possibility of providing meals for the boy by designating one of his elves to do so. He used one of his elves to stock the boy's kitchen with nutritious food for a month and deduct the cost from the Mahora clan budget in order to make things right and ensure the boy was eating a healthy diet. He mentally noted that he should recommend to the Hokage that someone be assigned to teach the boy how to cook. A 10-year-old Naruto would not have any issues if he could cook at age 5, unless he was lazy. In light of this, he placed a few fire safety charms in the kitchen in case the boy caused any damage there. After all, it was better to be safe. Hari gave himself a pat on the back for a job well done after doing some last-minute checking. Even though it might not be much, Naruto's life ought to improve. He nodded to Dog, who was essentially in awe of the different magic tricks he was performing, and then he vanished from the room, leaving Dog startled by a faint crack. Before hammering out the boy's security details, Hari returned to his office in the hospital and told the Hokage everything he had done. Hari chose to designate one of his elves to keep watch over the boy while remaining totally undetectable, in addition to the numerous envious the elderly leader had assigned to do so. The Hokage gave his approval to every action Hari took on Naruto's behalf, but he made sure to keep all of his help a secret. Since he didn't want to be in the spotlight about the boy because that would negate any assistance he could provide, Hari had no trouble agreeing. Hari remained after the Hokage left his office until Naruto awoke, which was not long given the boy's healing abilities due to the demon inside of him. There was a chance that the Biju would attempt to contact the boy or vice versa, unintentionally, of course, while unconscious, so Hari was relieved to find no evidence of the Kyuubi's influence using a passive mind probe. Hari made the decision to go a month after the recent attack on Naruto because he was eager to experience what the Elemental Nation had to offer. In addition, He had always wanted to travel the world, but he was unable to fulfill this dream because he had to leave Britain and the war with Voldemort made such plans all but impossible. But he now had plenty of time to do so without any issues arising to thwart his plans. He made the necessary trip preparations and went straight to the Hokage. With an eyebrow raised, Sarutobi questioned, "You want to travel?" With an excited nod, Hari set the map he had brought on the table. Looking at the map, Sarutobi saw the boy's intended route, which would undoubtedly enable him to see every village and nation on the continent, including those that could only be reached by boat. Hari patted his pocket and eagerly began his vacation by assuring him, "As you can see, Hokage-sama, I already have a plan in mind as to where I'm going. Supplies aren't a problem since I can easily buy those that I can't create on the spot and my travel trunk is already packed full of supplies and necessities." "And what are you going to do about council meetings? You do know that you're a clan head, right? Your attendance is necessary," the Hokage replied. Hari dismissively waved his hand. "I'll make sure that Fox will listen to your call if there's an emergency that requires my attention. Besides, there's nothing stopping me from coming back here if I'm needed. You already know I can create portkeys to anywhere as long as I know my destination. My portkey or Fox will get me here in no time." Sarutobi gave a nod. The head of the Mahora clan had the capacity to fulfill his promise, and the plan was sound. Nothing was stopping him from returning to the village when necessary, after all, using his magic. He asked slyly, unwilling to concede, "How about your duties in the hospital?" Allowing the boy to take his vacation was fine, but what fun would it be without a little argument to make him earn it? Aside from the extreme cases, the doctors and nurses there can handle everything. I already stocked up the hospital with a year's worth of potions and I don't think they would be running out anytime soon since I made it a rule to only use the potions if there's need. My secretary there can call Fox anytime if there's an emergency, Hari said with a grin. Sarutobi inquired, "Ah yes, how is Nao-chan coming along?" 2 months ago, he made Nao, one of the hospital's skilled nurses, Hari's assistant turned secretary. Additionally, it was a smart move because the boy needed someone to schedule his appointments, particularly in case of emergencies. That's how well liked Mahora Hari was. Nao is a lifesaver and thanks for sending her to me. Right now, the potion stock is keyed to her signature and only she can take it out of storage. She passed my training with flying colors and I left her some instruction for those rarer potions I placed inside storage. Hari said with a grin. He was aware that the elderly man was merely making up reasons to dissuade him from going. On his watch, that will not occur. The wizard laughed as Sarutobi reprimanded, "From the looks of it, you didn't leave me any room to maneuver, Hari-kun." Hari tapped his head and said, "We've known each other for over a year, old man. I already know how you think. It's your fault that you let Inara teach me to plan ahead." Sarutobi complained. "Cheeky brat." With a sigh, he took out a scroll from a drawer. Before putting his seal on it, he unrolled it and signed his name at the bottom. After making sure everything was in order, he handed the scroll to Hari after rolling it up. "That's your travel pass good for 1 year. I gave you something similar to a Sanin's traveling rights. Just show it to any village you plan to visit, you won't have any problems with custom or the guards. Keep in mind that I can only give you a year's pass. No more, no less." Hari enthusiastically accepted the scroll and saluted the Hokage with both fingers. He said, "Thanks a bunch, Hokage-sama. If you'll excuse me, the world awaits," and then he loudly cracked out of the office. For 2 months, Hari had been traveling, and he enjoyed it. Since he could learn so much from other cultures, he now understood why Dumbledore enjoyed traveling so much. His journey was comparatively easy and trouble-free, except for the typical bandits and the trips back to Konoha to deal with some domestic issues. He had never experienced such a thing before, so his first stop was Tanzaku-gai, where he went on a week-long gambling binge. In his former life, he had a constant curiosity about Las Vegas and a desire to try it out. His luck must have been on his side because he won almost every game he played, including poker and slot machines, especially from a blonde with an enormous bust who was followed by a woman. Hari compared her to an assistant, with a pig wearing pearls. He laughed in amusement at how easily he emptied her entire stash of cash from the way she swore after the poker game. Getting ejected and banned from some of the town's casinos and gambling dens was the only negative aspect of his winning streak. In an attempt to reclaim the money he had won, some bitter losers even sicked their bodyguards on him, but he defeated them all with a lightning strike or a stunner. There were no more problems from the losers after it was announced that he was not to be messed with. Atofika-gai was his next destination because it was reasonably close and only took an hour to get there without any issues. Atofika-gai didn't offer much entertainment, but he did indulge when some of the clothing stores offered premium kimonos for sale, and he fell in love right away. Simply put, the prices were too low to pass up. After his 3-day shopping trip, he made many store owners happy. Since there was a festival going on and he hadn't played many of the games the stalls offered, he decided to stay an additional week to see if he enjoyed them. He won a lot of stuffed toys and was clearly enjoying it. Now that he was trained as a shinobi, he was relieved because, to use the words of one Nara, it would have been difficult to hit those moving targets. Additionally, Atofika-gai was the site of his first hot spring bathing experience, for which the city was well known. Fortunately, he had the entire bath to himself, so he relished the quiet. Since he had practically spent 6 years sharing a bath with his fellow Gryffindor boys, he had no trouble doing so. He had no trouble seeing others or showing off his bits. That was just the way he was. He called his elves to him right away and told them to create a hot spring in one of the many empty spots in the Mahora clan compound because he loved the hot spring so much. Hari didn't mind because he didn't intend to return to Konoha anytime soon, maybe a year, but the elves promised to finish it even before he did. Wind Country was his next destination after Fire Country had run out of options for entertainment and relaxation. Fortunately, he had everything he needed to survive in the desert, and the ever-helpful Point Me spell helped him find his way and avoid getting lost. He thanked whichever gods were listening for teaching him how to use cooling charms to combat the extreme heat of the desert. He eventually met the Ichibi no Tanuki's resident Jinchuriki in Suna. The boy, who was about Naruto's age, had red hair, raccoon-like bags around his eyes. Hari figured this would be a special physical trait for holding the demon, or the boy simply didn't get enough sleep to get such severe eye bags, and the kanji for love above his eye. Furthermore, Sabaku no Gaara was anything but typical. The people of Suna feared Naruto if the villagers despised him because Gaara frequently went on killing rampages without a good reason. Hari shuddered to think that Naruto would become the second Gaara if he ever lost his temper over the way the villagers treated him. He eventually met Gaara while the boy was attacking some people who were going to kill him, while he was taking in all of Suna's sights, apart from the sporadic sand dunes that littered the area. Since Hari was largely invisible at the time, they didn't actually speak to each other. He skillfully put himself under a notice me not charm and watched the boy from a distance because he didn't want to interfere with the local police force and spare the Hokage a headache. The seal that kept the Biju inside the boy was found to be extremely weak, lacking the barrier that separated the demon from its host, according to a spell that was later performed. The seal on Gaara, in contrast to Naruto's, was altered to allow the demon complete access to the boy's mental abilities. The catastrophe Gaara might cause if the demon chose to reveal its full form made Hari shudder. Since the books he read about Jinchuriki didn't go into detail about their abilities and peculiarities, Hari made a note in his travel journal to study later when he witnessed Gaara demonstrate some of the Biju's skills, primarily his ability to manipulate sand. Aside from healing and endurance, he pondered what other qualities Naruto might have acquired by keeping the Kyuubi. He made the decision to look into that later, but he was aware that it was too soon because Naruto had not yet met his tenant. Hari was irritated. He went to a rice country village to take in the scenery when a dozen shinobi with a sound note in the center of their forehead protectors attacked the location. Following a mind probe, he discovered that the assailants were members of the Ado, the hidden village of sound. When the local orphanage was attacked, his saving people instinct took over, even though he had no intention of stepping in and running away. He quickly stunned the shinobis and led the kids and their guardians to safety before they could escape the orphanage with the kids. However, a group of Ado shinobis blocked his path, causing him to be sidetracked. With a frown, Hari positioned himself between the assailants and their target right away. One of the shinobis sneered and said, "Look what he have here, boys. A pretty boy playing hero." The man's sneer was nothing compared to Severus Snape, Hari observed. Channeling his magic to be ready for any attack that might come his way, Hari said coldly, "I'm no hero, but I'm not going to stand by and let you take these children." Another shinobi said, "I suggest you step back, brat, or you're going to get yourself killed." Then he paused, a sly smile spreading across his face. "Belay that, we'll kill you, then take the kids back to Ado for our lord to do as he wish." Hari gathered magic in his hands and said, "I don't think so." A wave of lightning shot out towards the attacking shinobis, who had hardly time to leap out of the way, as he clapped his hand in front of him. With a look of incredulity, one of the shinobi exclaimed, "What jutsu was that?" Hari snarled, "That is for me to know and for you to never find out, creep." Then he struck the man with a lightning bolt, causing him to scream in agony before collapsing to the ground, smoking, and unconscious. With fear and incredulity in their eyes, The other shinobi turned from their fallen comrade to Hari. Before hurling a kunai enhanced by chakra, one of the sound shinobis snarled, "You're going to pay for that." The shinobi screamed in agony as Hari simply waved his hand to stop the projectile, then threw it back towards its thrower, embedding it on the shoulder. Hari said, "I think not, boya," and then stunned the man, temporarily putting him down. Since they were enemies, he didn't bother to mend the wound. Well, if he felt like it, perhaps later. He just went all out on the Cretans because he felt that there was no need for conversation and that it was very offensive that they dared to attack innocent people. In order to prevent the enemy shinobis from regrouping or launching a counterattack, battle spells and lightning-based attacks began to fly everywhere. The battle ended 5 minutes later, with many of Hari's lightning spells having left the enemy shinobis either unconscious or moaning in excruciating pain. After all, electrocution was quite painful before losing consciousness. Hari turned to the people he protected and blushed at the sight of their loving gazes fixed on him, nodding to himself for a job well done. As the other caregivers bowed to their savior in joy, the female caregiver exclaimed, thank you so much. If you didn't help, these kids would have been taken by the Sound Village for their experiments," the children said, gazing with joy and amazement at their savior. Hari smiled and said, "You don't have to thank me." However, he scowled when he realized what the woman had just said. "What do you mean by experiments?" The other caregiver nodded in agreement as the caretaker explained, "My village wasn't the only one attacked recently. According to the survivors from the other towns that got attacked, the Sound Village is on a kidnapping spree for their leader to abduct as many people as possible, both children and adults, for their experiments." "What?" Hari cried. He thought of this as Voldemort without the magic. "Are you sure about that?" "Yes." The caregiver nodded, her eyes filled with fear. "A close friend of mine survived the encounter by escaping through the woods, not stopping until he got to my village. He overheard some of the sound shinobis talking about their lord wanting kids to experiment on. Something about bloodlines." "Damn it." Hari snarled too. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't get involved. Even though he was a strong wizard, it was suicide to attack a shinobi village. "Do you have anywhere safe you can go?" The woman sadly shook her head, accepting that she was homeless, and said, "No, we don't have anywhere else to go." When they heard that, a few of the children started crying. Hari sensed the despair radiating from the survivors. With a plan in the works, Hari asked, "Do you know where Konoha is?" With hesitation, the woman replied, Yes." Hari pulled out a bag of cash and said, "Good, I want you to go there with the rest of your group. Tell the guards at the gate that Mahora Hari sent you. Explain your situation to the Hokage. He'll help you out." Before giving it to the wide-eyed woman, he made another pouch right away and put half of the money in it. Hari calculated that the new bag held about 5 million Ryo notes. "Here's some money to spend for the trip. Go east from here. There's a town there. Rest up for a day and buy supplies. When you're done, immediately go south to Konoha without stopping. If can hire some protection, then do it. There's plenty of money in the pouch until you can get situated back to Konoha. Tell the Hokage to set you up in a new orphanage and to take the money from the Mahora account. Understood?" Hari blushed at the unexpected display of affection as the woman nodded and embraced him. "Thank you so much for your generosity, Mahora-sama." The caregiver tightened the embrace. Hari said, No problem." She was beginning to feel very uneasy about being hugged. "Just stay safe, alright? I'll make sure to hide your trail so you won't get pursued." Hari pulled her back to the ground and led them in the correct direction after the caregiver released her hold. Hari instantly stunned every shinobi on the ground and piled them all together as soon as they had all left the area. After transforming a branch into a portkey, he tossed it into the pile. The shinobis vanished into thin air. Perhaps they could refocus their priorities by spending a day or two in the middle of the desert. It took Hari 2 months to receive an urgent summons from the Hokage through Fox. Right now, he was relaxing on the Tea Country beach before boarding a ship early the next day to travel to Demon Country. When he read the missive, the Hokage raised an eyebrow and told him to return home right away. He sighed and quickly charmed himself dry. After returning to his hotel room, he packed everything into his trunk, shrank it down, and put it inside his kimono. He asked Fox to take him to the Hokage's office after finishing that task. In a flash of fire, he materialized in front of the Hokage, who was now frowning while reading a document in his hands. Hari inquired inquisitively, "Something wrong, Hokage-sama?" as he had never witnessed the elderly leader so agitated. The Hokage said, "Did you know what you just did?" Hari was confused and had no idea what the Hokage was discussing. Hari half asked, half answered. No, I was in tea country enjoying the beach before you summoned me home. What seems to be the problem? Without a word, the Hokage pulled a small black book out of his drawer, turned the pages, and gave it to him. Hari took the book and read the page out of curiosity. His brows went up in shock. Entry 2189 in the bingo book. Mahora Hari is her name. Age: 18 to 25 years old. Associated with Konoha. Rank: not sure. Level of threat. A description: he has long black hair, a lightning-shaped scar on his forehead, a blue kimono, and glasses. Put in the bingo book for using odd jutsus, particularly seal-less lightning attacks, to attack a group of auto shinobis. 15 million ryo, auto, is the bounty. Condition: to be delivered, alive or dead, to auto. Hari read and exclaimed, "What in the world is this?" That, my dear Hari-kun, is a bingo book, where shinobis with bounties on their heads are placed for other shinobis to hunt for money. I would assume that your placement in there was due to your scuffle with the auto nins a few months back and saving an orphanage full of kids and their caretaker, whom by the way are asking for you since you practically saved them. Sarutobi continued, adding the final sentence to drive his message home. Disappointed that his vacation was coming to an end, Hari questioned, "Damn. Does this mean that I have to cut my trip short?" Sarutobi raised an incredulous eyebrow. The Hokage questioned incredulously, "You're telling me that you're not afraid of being hunted?" No, I can easily escape if I needed to. I'm still wearing my portkey ring, so all I need to do is activate it and I'm back in my study. I'm just sad that my vacation time was cut short. I already booked a ship to Demon Country in the morning too. Hari sighed. The elderly leader raised an eyebrow and said, "Why in the world are you going to do in Demon Country? There's nothing there but mountains, rocks, and swamps." Hari gave a shrug. "I heard from a fellow tourist I met in tea that Demon Country hosts a lot of ruins and a shrine dedicated to a priestess who can see the future. I was curious about it, that's all," he stated with a longing expression on his face. Before getting to the point, the Hokage shook his head and said, "Only you, Hari. Such is the case, you will have to forego your vacation and stay in the village until the hubbub dies down. This updated bingo book was issued a week ago and it would seem that the auto leader is a bit desperate to bring you down." Before remembering what he was going to ask the Hokage, Hari nodded. "Which reminds me, I never heard of an auto village before. That's where the sound shinobis came from, right? Care to elaborate?" "Yes, my spymaster sent me a message a few years back informing me that a new village has set up shop in Rice Country. Their location and numbers are unknown, though he did inform me that they specialize in sound-based techniques." Sound, huh? Hari thought. Interesting choice considering that sound is invisible and would be effective as a shinobi weapon if they know how to do it right. "So, when do you think I can return to my vacation?" When Sarutobi saw the young wizard's hopeful expression, he let out a sigh. "If you can assure me that you're safe, then you can go back to what it is you were doing." "Don't worry about me, old man," Hari smiled and reassured him. "I'll keep myself safe, no problem. To set your mind at ease, I promise to return home after Demon Country. I can always plan for another trip in the future if nothing exciting happens. Speaking of which, I think we need to talk about me joining Konoha ranks officially and not simply as a capacity of a medic nin. To be honest, fighting those sound shinobis sparked something in me. I don't know why, but I crave adventure all of a sudden." The Hokage deadpanned, "You consider shinobi life as an adventure? I don't know if you're brave or suicidal. Shinobi life is hardly an adventure." Hari smiled at this. Before bowing to the Hokage, he acknowledged, "Maybe both. See you later, old man. Demon Country awaits. Let's go, Fox." With a joyful thrill, Fox, now perched on Hari's shoulder, swept his master off in a blaze to resume the next part of their journey. After letting out a sigh, Sarutobi took a shinobi registration form out of a folder and filled it out with Hari's details. He needed to be drafted into the ranks. But where to put him was the question. At the moment, Naruto was confused. He couldn't explain the strange things that had been happening to him lately. He first vanished back to his apartment after being surrounded by a group of people brandishing numerous sharp objects. He simply did, without knowing how. It was astounding. Second, the shopkeepers would either throw him out or overcharge their items, so all the ramen cups he bought were being replaced with food he wanted but couldn't buy in the market. In front of his very eyes, he even witnessed his favorite cup noodles vanish and be replaced by a packet of crab sticks that were fit for consumption. It was strange. Third, he was certain that no one could enter his house because he kept it locked, and a delectable meal would always be on his table. Even if he had already made a cup of ramen and it was ready to eat, the cup would simply vanish and be replaced by a delicious plate of a full breakfast. It was frightful. Last but not least, even though it was his birthday today, there were no attacks. On his birthday, he was always attacked at home. What caused the abrupt change? He waited through the night for the first group of villagers to knock on his door and beat him mercilessly. He stayed up until morning, and there were no mobs to be seen. It was odd. Every time he put them in the cabinet, they would simply vanish and be replaced by other food items, so he sighed before taking out the last cup of ramen he had hidden in the bathroom. He cooked it in the bathroom using a secret hot water thermos. After waiting for 5 minutes, he got ready to eat the delicious ramen noodles. But his chopstick vanished and a plate of nutritious food materialized on top of the sink before he could even insert it into the cup. The Anbu protecting him went crazy when his scream reverberated throughout the village, and the Hokage, who heard it, laughed uncontrollably. After spending 2 weeks in Demon Country, Hari came back to Konoha as promised. Demon Country had a lot of rocks to navigate, in contrast to Fire Country, which had a lot of trees. Although it was dull, he was astounded by the sheer quantity of ruins he discovered and was in awe of the priestess shrine's beauty. He took a day off after arriving back in Konoha before returning to his regular schedule. The following day, he got up early and went to see Nao in the hospital to see how the potion stock was doing and whether he needed to brew any more. Fortunately, not all of the physicians and nurses were able to use the potions for a straightforward treatment because Nao was very insistent about doing as his boss said. Although Hari didn't mind giving them his elixirs, the doctors shouldn't have been complacent. They would not be able to treat their patients as effectively if they didn't practice their skills. At the upcoming hospital budget meeting, Hari made a special effort to give his secretary a raise. She was simply too talented for a minimum wage. He went to Anbu headquarters to check on Ibiki and record the stock of Veritasirum he gave them prior to his vacation after obtaining from Nao the list of potions used and who used them. Luckily, he got there before Ibiki could send out a request for more of the widely used interrogation tool. Since he still had a lot of Veritasirum in stock at home, he assured the man that he would deliver a fresh supply via Fox later that day and signed the receipt form from a delighted interrogator. The Hokage's office was the final destination of the day, where he talked about his intention to join the Shinobi Corps. The Hokage chose to give him a test, so to speak, because he had already learned what a genin and chunin should know about being a shinobi, even though he had not attended the academy. His rank would be decided by his behavior during the test. Since his exam was in 2 days, Hari was unable to contain his excitement and vowed to study. He was impatient. Hari was bored. To ascertain his rank, the Hokage put him through 3 tests. The first test, a written exam that would assess his knowledge, was the cause of the boredom. He was handed the test paper by a smirking chunin, who warned him that he would fail if he didn't answer all the questions in an hour. Angry at being undervalued, Hari just drew his wand and tapped the paper, directing his magic in its direction without averting his gaze from the chunin. All of the questions were addressed in a minute. During his time as headmaster of Hogwarts, the old coot created the nonverbal spell from Dumbledore's collection to make his paperwork easier. As long as the knowledge was in the caster's mind, it would fill out any form. Writing down the answers won't cause him to sprain his hand. That's just how magic was. With a relaxed expression on his face, he leaned back in his chair and put his foot on the desk after double-checking his answers and making sure everything was correct. He couldn't help but sneer at the examiner and dozed off for the next 57 minutes. Hari was gazing at the massive iron fence that delineated Training Ground 44's perimeter, affectionately referred to by the local shinobi as the Forest of Death. Since he was practically the forest's neighbor and only his wards were preventing the creatures from entering his compound, he was aware of the forest's reputation. Then he had to walk through the forest, locate the chunin who had the scroll he needed to pass, take it, and walk to the tower in the center of the Forest of Death. To pass this part of the test, he had 5 days to bring the scroll to the tower. Choosing to approach this task in a shinobi fashion, he went into the forest and gradually employed the techniques he had learned from his tutor to find the target who held the secret to passing the test. At first, he liked playing hide and seek, but he became irritated when the forest's predators began to emerge in large numbers. He set down the 5th group of steroid-fueled tigers who were going to transform him into a Hari-ala king for lunch, then drew out the Elder Wand, held it above his head, and snarled. "Akio Shinobi Who is holding my scroll." The shinobi holding the scroll rushed into his position with a shocked expression on his face because of the quantity of magic he put into the spell and the deathly Hallows' satisfaction at assisting its master. Before the man could even approach, Hari stunned him, causing him to fall to the ground like a puppet with its strings severed. After raiding the Chunin's numerous pockets, he proudly held an exam scroll a minute later. He made the decision to play a practical joke on the man before he left by dressing in a pink tutu instead of his shinobi and lengthening his hair before going blonde. After snapping a photo, he headed for the tower. After retrieving the scroll, Hari used his wand to guide him in the proper direction in the forest's treetop highways sparingly, using the branches to avoid encountering the large tigers who had grown a healthy resentment toward him. This allowed Hari to reach the tower in a record-breaking 3 hours. The aerial treetop highway was also teeming with giant birds that were hungry for meat for breakfast, so it was more difficult than he had anticipated. Hari didn't want to mess around, so he just wrapped himself in an overpowered Protega shield and blasted his way through the forest's flying inhabitants until he reached his destination. He was led to the inner sanctum for the final section of his examination after arriving at the tower and handing the scroll over to the Chunin who was waiting for him. He discovered himself in a kind of arena. Sarutobi grinned and said, "Congratulations in making it this far, Hari-kun." He used his crystal ball to see what the boy had done in the first 2 exams, and he laughed uncontrollably when he saw the Chunin transformed into a ballerina, as Albus had once told him about it in a book. Because Hari made him laugh so hard, he mentally noted that he should send him a gift later. Your last exam is to fight against a Junin. You don't have to win. All you need to do is to display the skills you have at your disposal and survive for the next 10 minutes. Your rank will be judged after the fight. Are you ready? Hari grinned cheekily as he nodded. He inquired inquisitively, "Ready and waiting, Hokage-sama. Who's going to be my opponent?" So the Hokage told him, "Your opponent will be Sarutobi Asuma, my son and a Junin of this village." With his signature cigarette on his lips, Sarutobi Asuma emerged in the center of the stage as if on cue. With a curious expression on his face, he eyed his opponent and said, "So Pops want me to test you, eh?" Then Hari nodded and said, "Seems like it. You do know that smoking kills, right? Meha smoking kills civilians except shinobis. I coat my lungs in chakra to make sure that none of the harmful stuff sticks to my lungs. Why do you think my dad is still alive considering that he's been smoking longer than I have?" Asuma replied with a grin. "Oh," Hari exclaimed, his face showing signs of understanding. "Now that's something you don't learn every day. Tricky old monkey, isn't he?" Asuma smirked as he assumed his taijutsu stance, saying, "That he is. Are you ready now, Hari-chan?" Hari grinned and said, "Ready and waiting, Asuma-kun." He then assumed his own stance, which is the defensive form of Tai Chi that he had learned from a book he had brought from Britain. With a few tweaks of his own design to fit his needs, he was able to master the style with Guy's guidance. The Hokage's Hajime shout started things off. While Hari's left hand was already moving in a conventional palm strike toward the Junin's sternum, Asuma charged his opponent and delivered a right hook that Hari easily parried with a sweep of his right hand. But there was a reason Asuma was a Junin. Asuma dodged the attack by spinning to the side, using his quick reflexes and experience from training in the battlefield. He then used his momentum to land a backhand blow with his free left that would have struck Hari's cheek if he hadn't crouched it in time. Hari then slammed his shoulder onto Asuma's back, throwing the Junin, who recovered quickly from the blow and went on the defensive. Even though he was expected to lose, Hari wanted to make the most of this fight, so he attacked Asuma with a continuous barrage of Tai Chi punches, jabs, palm strikes, and knife hand thrusts at high speed, preventing the seasoned Junin from retaliating. He erred by overextending a punch, though, which the Sarutobi heir saw and took advantage of. After grabbing the outstretched hand, Asuma flipped Hari over his shoulder and tossed him aside. A few meters behind the man, Hari appeared to catch his breath after fortunately managing to catch himself in midair. Even though he trained physically every day, applying his skills in combat was a completely different matter. He promised to engage in a variety of sparring activities with Iruka to acclimate to fighting non-stop. Asuma smiled as he watched his opponent use his disappearing trick to correct himself. He was aware that it was neither shinobi speed nor shunshin. Only Hari's special bloodline, which his father had told him about, allowed for pure teleportation. He gathered a great deal of wind chakra in his hands, flipped through a series of hand seals, threw it out, palm forward, and yelled his attack. Asuma expelled the wind chakra he had collected for the techniques and thrust his hands forward, palms facing Hari, shouting, "Fuden! Great breakthrough!" A tremendous gust of wind blew out of Asuma's hand and hurtled toward Hari, who could see the attack coming because the wind was so strong that it appeared somewhat hazy. Hari chose to use magic to somewhat level the playing field because he was ignorant of defensive jutsus. Hari yelled, "Protega Maxima," and conjured up a dome of pure defensive magic. Hari was shielded from the wind blast when Asuma's wind jutsu struck the magical barrier without any effect. Hari grinned as he watched the attack fade away and then turned off the spell. With a cheeky grin, the head of the Mahora clan taunted, "If that's how you want to play, then who am I to disappoint?" before pointing to his opponent and yelling his favorite spell. Fulgur Affulgio. Hari's finger shot a beam of pure lightning in Asuma's direction, and Asuma stared at it incredulously. Seal-less elemental jutsus were even more uncommon than seal-less jutsus. Asuma sped through a set of seals for the only defensive tactic in his toolbox because he was a little desperate and didn't want to be hit by such a concentrated attack. Asuma yelled, "Fuden!" K's notate, just before he was encircled by a dome of spinning wind. Both battled for supremacy after the lightning spell struck the windshield. Luckily for Asuma, Hari's attack vanished without harming him because lightning was weak against wind. When Asuma noticed the playful sparkle in the boy's eyes, he instantly regretted his taunt. "You need to do better than that, Hari-kun." Hari chose to be dramatic and let his inner marauder loose. He spread his arms wide and summoned a dozen spears from thin air, allowing them to float around him. Asuma had only one idea in mind as he eyed the floating, sharp objects of doom that surrounded his opponent. "Oh shit," he swore, his mouth wide. Hari grinned and swung his arms forward, hurling the conjured spears at the Junin with incredible speed. "Oh, I will, Asuma-kun. I will." After reading an obscure book on mind magics that one of his elves found in the Potter library, Hari was able to perform telekinesis automatically and effortlessly. He became so proficient at it that he could effortlessly float anything, even heavy trees and tiny rocks. Asuma began to dodge right away, but Hari's subsequent remarks alarmed him and caused him to intensify his efforts in order to avoid being shish kebabbed by the flying spears. Hari said in a childlike voice, "Oh, before I forget, did I mention that I can control the flight of my spears?" Before guiding the flying spears with his right hand and changing course in midair to follow Asuma as he ran around the room. "Since you want me to do better, might as well give you more toys to play with. Hari then changed some of the spears into wolves and urged them to attack Asuma, who instantly yelled foul play and cursed, but he and everyone else in the arena chose to ignore it. After all, this was a fight. 6 hungry-looking wolves and 6 extremely sharp pointy spears now confronted the Junin. He gulped and began to run around, desperately avoiding spears and bites. Asuma recognized that Hari needed to focus in order for the spears to follow him, despite his situation. Making a quick plan, he appeared directly behind his opponent with a shunshin and kicked him in the spine. Although he didn't anticipate it hitting, it would be sufficient to divert his opponent and buy him some time. Just before the kick could reach him, Hari instantly appeared after sensing chakra behind him. Before he pulled out his holly wand and disappeared the spears, he appeared seated on the wall, leaving the wolves to play with his opponent. He roared out his next spell, focusing on his target. Incendio. He overpowered the spell, causing a stream of white fire to shoot from the tip of his wand in the direction of the Junin, who was occupied with escaping the wolves. The man was struck by the fire, which resulted in a huge explosion and smoke filling the arena. When the smoke cleared, Hari noticed that his wolves had already vanished as a result of his overpowered spell, which made him tense. And there was a burned log in the center of the crater in place of Asuma. Before disappearing from his position in time to avoid being slashed by Asuma's trench knife, Hari swore, "Shit, replacement technique." When his attack failed, Asuma grunted, "Tricky little bugger, aren't you?" He searched the field and found Hari sitting on the wall across from him, watching him suspiciously. Going through another set of hand seals, he said, "You're too young to get a one-up on me, Hari-kun." Fuden. K's Senbon. Over a dozen wind-powered Senbon needles appeared around Asuma and then shot at Hari at breakneck speed. Hari only made a protega to shield himself from the onslaught after realizing he wouldn't be able to apparate in time, but this was a bad idea because Asuma outclassed his jutsu. The shield developed some cracks after the initial blast struck it. It was broken by the second batch. When Hari turned to teleport, some of the Senbons struck him on the shoulder and arm, but it was too late for him to escape the next wave. A few meters from Asuma's left, Hari emerged, his arm and shoulder gushing blood from the Senbon's impact. With a growl of agony, he chose to remove the child's gloves. He thrust both hands, palms facing Asuma, ignoring the pain he was experiencing. Fulgur Fluctus. Hari exclaimed as a bolt of lightning shot from his hands and toward his stunned adversary. Though he was a little late, Asuma leapt to avoid the attack, and when his foot was struck, electricity shot through his body, causing him to yell in agony as he was electrocuted. Hari was not finished with his barrage, so as a last resort, he employed one of the few methods he had developed, which fused the energies of conjuration magic and controllable chakra. He held out his hand, fingers spread wide, to the yelling Junin. Vinculum fulgur. Each outstretched finger sent a slender lightning bolt in the shape of chains toward Asuma. Many believed that the attack had missed because it had gone unnoticed at Asuma's side, but they were quickly convinced otherwise by what transpired. Hari snarled and waved his fingers to manipulate the lightning chains, wrapping Asuma in the process and electrocuting him. When Hari saw his opponent go unconscious from the pain, he instantly stopped the technique. Hari won the match when Asuma collapsed to the ground, smoking and unconscious. Panting from effort, Hari fell to his knees, because his last attack required so much focus, chakra, and magic. Beads of sweat trickled down his face. He disliked using Vinculum fulgur because it required a lot of magic and chakra to create, and it required a great deal of control to move each lightning chain in any direction he desired. Hari's reserves of magic and chakra would be heavily depleted as more lightning was required to create it the farther the opponent was. The sound of applause from all around the arena roused him from his slumber. He looked up to see that everyone who had witnessed the fight was applauding him and applauding enthusiastically for such a fantastic display of strength and skill. A few of them were yelling with anticipation for a fierce battle. Hari couldn't suppress a smile. He pushed himself off the ground, reached for his pouch, and took out a vial of pepper-up potion, hoping he wouldn't overdo it and wanting to know how his opponent was doing. Even though his magic reserves were still gradually being replenished, he finished it all at once and felt his chakra return to normal. The potion did not restore much magic to his body, but it was sufficient to keep him energized for his next move. He approached an unconscious Asuma, pulled out his holy wand, and used diagnostic spells on the Junin who had been defeated. He glanced up at the Hokage, who was worriedly observing his son, and saw that the Junin was fine aside from some burns and nerve damage. The Hokage sighed in relief as Hari said, "Don't worry, Hokage-sama. Your son is all right. Just a few fried nerves and burns, that's all. Just give him a nerve repair potion and some rest, then he's good as new." After Hari gave them some instructions, a group of medic nin entered the arena and dragged Asuma away for treatment. Because Hari was a medic nin, they didn't question him. "Thank you, Hari-kun. That was an amazing fight if I do say so myself. Now, are you ready to hear the evaluation from the jury?" asked the elderly leader. Stilling himself to listen to the experts' opinions, Hari nodded. To get everyone's attention, the Chunin in charge of the written exam got up and started coughing. With a shake of his head, he stated, Mahora Hari finished his written exam in record-breaking time of 2 minutes and spent the rest of the time relaxing. Those who heard that looked at Hari with disbelief. The purpose of the exam was to find a way to cheat, but it would seem that Hari-san was capable in answering all of those questions with ease. "Tell me, Hari-san, how did you answer all those questions considering that all of them were Junin level?" In shame, Hari scratched the back of his head. He grinned and said, "Well, I know the answers to those questions because I saw that it was the same test Shikaku-san gave me when I was taking his proficiency test to see if I studied the shinobi arts properly. If you want to blame someone, then blame him." The Chunin began to complain about Narusa's laziness and annoyance. The Chunin remarked, "Well, I guess that you passed that part of the test," and then took a seat. Many of the local shinobi laughed at the next Chunin to stand up because he was dressed like a pink ballerina. The completely embarrassed shinobi growled, "Ha ha, very funny. Anyway, I don't know what you did to launch me from my hiding spot to your location, only that you did. Despite the un-shinobi-like tactic, you got the scroll as your mission dictated and made your way to the tower without getting eaten by the residents of the forest. You passed my exam. Now can you please get rid of this ridiculous outfit?" he begged in a whining voice, which caused a new round of laughter. Hari smiled and nodded, then reversed the change by waving his wand at the Chunin. After checking his attire, the shinobi let out a sigh of relief. The Hokage then spoke, much to Hari's surprise. "Since Asuma is currently unconscious, I'll handle your evaluation for the final part of the exam. I can say that your taijutsu style was flawless, though you got tired too easily since you weren't used to prolonged fighting, though that can be easily remedied through practice. Your use of techniques was astounding as always thanks to your bloodline, and it was perfectly executed to counter Asuma's experience and your inexperience in shinobi battle by being unpredictable. Despite the lack of ninjutsus in your arsenal, you gave a good fight and won. Finally, I would just like to say that you lack the experience in planning your attacks, especially on the fly, since a shinobi should always be 3 moves ahead of his opponent. Nothing a good experience in missions couldn't fix." He paused to receive the 2 papers handed to him by the first 2 examiners. He gave it a quick look and then nodded. "To conclude this exam, I congratulate you in passing all 3 tests with flying colors, and I am more than happy to give you the rank of Tobetsu Junin. Welcome to the fold, Mahora Hari, Tobetsu Junin of the Leaf. As his now comrades in the Konoha ranks applauded, Hari whooped with joy. When the Sandaime promoted Hari to the rank of Tobetsu Junin, he was invited to the Hokage's office right away to explain his duties and the rationale behind his promotion. The Hokage claimed that a Tobetsu Junin was a shinobi who demonstrated a special talent and became a Junin in it. For instance, even though Gekko Hayate lacked ninjutsu and genjutsu skills, his skill with a sword made him a Tobetsu Junin, making him a formidable shinobi. Because of her abilities in interrogation, infiltration, and assassination, Mitarashi Anko was another example. 2 factors made Hari a Tobetsu Junin in this instance. First of all, he was a very skilled magician who could perform incredible feats both inside and outside of missions. This was particularly true when the Hokage pointed out that his lightning attacks were essentially B-to-A rank techniques because of their destructive power. Second, he was a fully licensed medic nin who had achieved great success in the healing field through the use of spells and potions. With pride, the Hokage displayed his ability to be nearly as good as Tsunade. Hari would be ready to go if he could only increase his understanding of the human body. As a result, Hari was assigned to a support role during missions, but he was still allowed to be a frontline combatant in an emergency. Since he had to practice the shinobi arts diligently in order to succeed, the wizard-turned-shinobi had no trouble with that. In addition, he needed to get stronger in order to fend off any attacks since he now had a bounty. Hari was pleased with his exam score and rank, but his joy was short-lived when the Hokage told him that he would not yet be assigned any missions. The Hokage clarified that in order to ensure that his abilities were sufficient in the field, he would have to undergo 6 months of shinobi training with a chosen group of Junins because he lacked experience in battle and missions. Shinobis were meticulous by nature, and the Hokage wanted Hari to become a master of his skills to ensure his survival in the outside world. Hari understood then that he had no problem using magic in combat, but that shinobi combat differed from wizard combat. Although skill was the foundation for survival in shinobi battles, success necessitates anticipating the unexpected and looking beneath the surface. To the dismay of the recently appointed Tobetsu Junin, the Hokage pointed out what Hari lacked. The next 6 months of Hari's life as a Tobetsu Junin consisted of hospital work, potion making, studying magic and anatomy, and sparring with other Junins in the field, such as Sarutobi Asuma, who seemed to have made it her life's work to beat Hari to death, sore loser. Mitarashi Anko, a bloodthirsty woman who loved to clobber him silly with her snakes and draw a lot of his blood in the process. Gekko Hayate, the sword-wielding menace, who forced Hari to flee the training ground in order to avoid the manslayer, as he called him. And, lastly, Kurenai Yuhi, a newly promoted Junin, who taught him to fight through illusions while putting him in the most horrid and mind-scarring genjutsus that girl had in her arsenal, sadistic mind-freak princess of beauty. Hari had a lot of sparring partners every day, so he had to return home exhausted, bruised, and covered in blood. Fortunately, his elves were skilled at healing him, so he was in excellent condition for his upcoming thrashing. Hari's numerous spars allowed him to, in a sense, develop his battle sense. His sparring partners would point out his technique's shortcomings without offering any fixes. In order to adapt to various battle situations and emerge victorious, Hari was forced to study the magical arts and experiment with his magic. As a result, he expanded his skill set to include techniques other than shinobi jutsus and experimented with the various ways to combine magic and chakra for better effects. Unbeknownst to him, his sparring partners decided unanimously to let him develop his own strength instead of giving him special treatment. They were allowing Hari to do that without informing their dummy, as it were. After all, they didn't want to be pranked in retaliation. Asuma used ninjutsu and taijutsu to attack him. As a result, Hari became more proficient in shinobi combat and developed new magic chakra techniques to counter each jutsus that was thrown at him. Hari's ability to develop quick strategies even under pressure was also enhanced by the Asuma training. Without any fear of harm, Anko simply launched a direct attack on him. The snake mistress of the leaf was skilled at sneaking up on him and attacking his blind spots, so Hari had to push himself to become more adept at avoiding and anticipating attacks from any angle. Hari also discovered that he could use the parseltongue skill that Voldemort had given him to communicate with Anko's snake summons. However, in contrast to the snakes on his world, summoned snakes would only pay attention to their masters, though they could be convinced if needed. For instance, Hari would use parseltongue on the snakes that restricted him from Anko's shadow snake hands technique to refrain from biting, and they readily complied. Although they may not have obeyed his commands to defy their masters, summoned snakes generally respected him enough to spare him from death. Hari's reflexes and reaction time to opponents brandishing weapons, more precisely, a sword, were enhanced by Gecko Hayate. By forcing Hari to block, parry, or even dodge sword strikes while delivering blow after blow to bring down his opponent, Gecko assisted the wizard Shinobi in using his flowing taijutsu style. Hayate taught Hari how to cast the Reparo spell, which became instinctive because the Tobetsu Junin swordsman had a sadistic streak and would use his damned katana to rip his clothes to shreds. In relation to Hayate, Hari was forced to send the ailing Junin to the hospital for medical care. He discovered that Hayate had a genetic lung disease that ran in his family. It was common knowledge that members of the Gecko clan typically passed away before turning 40, and this was even more true for shinobis, as the disease was exacerbated by physical activity. In order to solve the issue, Hari had to make Hayate stay in the hospital for a week in order to treat him with potions and spells. The treatment was deemed successful, and in exchange, Hayate agreed to be gentle with Hari's clothing while sparing. The man was completely unfazed by Hari's glare at the Junin. After accompanying his fellow shinobi on numerous missions, Mahora Hari rose to prominence in the Konoha ranks. He was able to protect his team, launch devastating attacks in a split second, erect impenetrable barriers that could easily withstand A-rank jutsus, and ensure that every member of his team survived the mission, regardless of their post-mission state, thanks to his training and ever-increasing experience in the field of shinobi battles. The head of the Mahora clan was proud of his achievements since he was regarded as a strong fighter and healer. He completed 20 C-rank missions, 15 B-rank missions, 17 A-rank missions, and 3 S-rank missions over the course of 5 years, a remarkable accomplishment for someone who had only been a shinobi for 6 months. Due to his work at the hospital, he was not assigned any D-rank missions. In addition to being the most frequently asked Tobetsu Junin to join a mission, he was also known for his unwavering commitment to ensuring his team survived. This was especially evident when he saved a man who was about to die after an Iwa Junin had pierced his heart with a stone spear. The Iwa Junin was electrocuted to unconsciousness by Hari, leaving the Junin man smoking in a deep crater. There was a rule among the Konoha shinobi ranks as a result. If you wish to maintain your sanity, avoid upsetting Mahora Hari. If you do, he will make your life a living hell, heal you to perfection, and then repeat the process. He won't kill you. Speaking of which, Hari was the subject of numerous discussions because he completed every mission without sacrificing a human life. Although he could use his alleged bloodline to deliver devastating techniques, he only went so far as to bring his enemies dangerously close to death. Given his position as a medic, his teammates typically carried out the killing and didn't hold him accountable. Despite Hari's teammates' tendency to ignore the numerous lightning strikes that electrocute the enemy while laughing alongside the screams, medics were meant to save lives, not take them. No, nothing was visible to them. After all, ignorance was bliss. His bingo book entry was changed to give him 2 nicknames because of his magic prowess and capacity to heal. One to instill fear in his friends and fellow soldiers, and the other to instill courage. Because of his lightning kills, he was referred to by his adversaries as the Konoha no Regimen, lightning god of Konoha. Because of his proficiency in the healing art, he was known to his friends and comrades as the Jinsei no Shinobi, shinobi of life. Konoha Happa, Sadisuto o Hikiokosu, trigger happy sadist of Konoha, is another alias for him because of his trademark technique of firing lightning bolts without pausing while laughing at his opponents as they tried to escape from him. Despite his many accomplishments, he didn't rise above a rank due to his lack of kills, but his sadistic tendency to electrocute his opponents scared a lot of enemy shinobis. The bright glare of the sun shining through his open window woke Mahora Hari, who yawned. He gave the offending ball of fire a fierce look, then pushed himself off the bed and yawned. He forced himself to take a cold shower in order to wake up, complaining about bothersome suns and the Hokage's early morning calls. After a brief training session with Enko in the Forbidden Forest last night, he was still exhausted. No is not an answer to that woman. He regretted putting the sadistic woman in the wards so she could visit at any time because she was still as bloodthirsty as ever. He was good friends with the woman, but she was a pain in the ass. He changed into his typical attire and left his room 20 minutes later. He chose to forego the traditional Junin attire in favor of his favorite blue kimono. His hite ate around his waist like a belt, and his hair tied back so neatly that it exposed the lightning-shaped scar on his forehead. He found an eye correction potion in one of the many healing texts in the Potter library, and he no longer wore glasses. The amount of pain the corrective potion would cause the patient was the only reason it didn't work in the wizarding world. He drank the potion fearlessly because he had a high pain threshold because of the Dursleys, Voldemort, Death Eaters, and his numerous shinobi sparring partners. A few seconds later, he rolled on the ground and groaned in agony as the potion took effect. He was delighted to have perfect vision an hour later, despite the agony he endured during the correction, which was akin to that of Cruciatus. After emerging from his house and entering the Hokage's office, he found himself surrounded by the elderly leader and his fellow shinobi. Hari made a face that caused the other people in the room to laugh. "Good morning, Hokage-sama. I hope I'm not late for whatever it is you called me here for." Smiling, Sarutobi remarked, "Oh no, you're not late, Hari-kun. In fact, you're just in time." Hari realized right away that the old man was involved in something and that it had to do with him. He shuddered inwardly as he readied himself. Knowing that he had just walked into something he would always regret, he asked, "In time for what?" Sarutobi sarcastically remarked, "Why, Genin team selections, of course, as if you didn't know." Hari, who was already dreading the response, said, "As a matter of fact, no, I didn't know. So why am I here?" The Hokage grinned broadly and said, "Well, all the Junins in this room are the cream of the crop and I called everyone a yes. This includes you. Hari-kun A here so you can pick your own team." The Hokage just stared back at Hari as he stared. The different Junins in the room held their breath for a few more minutes as they engaged in a silent bet with their fellows about who would give in. Finally, someone did. Hari palmed his face in annoyance and moaned. In frustration, Hari growled, "I hate you. You know that, right?" Some of the Junins in the room imitated the groan, and then there was a click of coins being exchanged hands. Hokage smiled contentedly and said, yes I do. And I love you too, Hari-chan." We all laughed at the "chan" reference. To get everyone's attention, he coughed after this continued for a few seconds. "Alright, fun's over. Now, you are all here for the Genin selection. We have a total of 31 graduates from the academy. You already got the files, so I'm open for recommendations." As Hari listened to the Hokage, he felt a sudden sinking sensation. He was unaware of any files and did not receive any. What on earth was the elderly man discussing or, in his case, organizing? With a satisfied expression on his face, Sarutobi said, "Now before we start, let me just say, Hari-kun, that I have a very special team in mind for you. However, I want you to wait until the rest finish before we discuss your future team." Ultimately, he just signed the same Junin who was able to avoid having to play for a team for 2 years. He had no excuses now. Sarutobi was laughing merrily in his head. Hari sighed and resisted the impulse to strike the Hokage's arrogant face with a lightning bolt or slam his head against the wall. Fine. On with the show, I guess. After an hour and a half of team selection, Hari was the only person left in the room. When the wizard shinobi nodded resignedly, Sarutobi instantly burst out laughing and said, "Thanks for waiting, Hari-kun." He handed over a piece of paper that he had taken from the pile on his desk. "That is the file of your team." Hari took a quick look at the file and saw that there was just one paper. Hari stared at the photo of a blond boy with whisker lines on his cheek and said, I think you're getting senile, old man. Isn't a team supposed to be made of a Junin and 3 Genins?" The Hokage pointed to the paper Hari was holding and said, "That is true, but I want you to read the file first and tell me what you can conclude from it." Hari sighed as she perused one Uzumaki Naruto's academy file and couldn't help but frown. He reached a conclusion right away despite the file's many inconsistencies. Hari waved the fake file and said, "This is not the Naruto I know, Hokage-sama. If I didn't know any better, this file is rigged." Sarutobi nodded and said, "You are right, Hari-kun. The file that you have there is practically the only file in existence for one Uzumaki Naruto, and even his teacher's notes, one Umini Iruka, isn't there. It meant that someone rigged the file or sabotaged Naruto's education to the point that he is far below his peers." Hari said incredulously, "Sheesh. The civilians I can understand, but the shinobis too? Don't tell me they hate the boy for the Kyubi?" Sarutobi grinned proudly and said, "It is possible, but I have a distinct feeling that the civilian council has a hand in that decision, though that is moot point since Naruto passed and became a Genin." With a sparkle in his eyes, Hari said, "Oh, even if the record I am holding says that he failed, spectacularly I might add, he still passed? Do tell?" Sarutobi informed Hari right away about what had transpired the previous evening, when Mizuki had deceived Naruto into stealing the Forbidden Scroll under the pretense of a special exam in order to elevate the boy to Junin. The boy was desperate to prove himself, so Naruto took the scroll from the Hokage's office right away. given how secure the location was. Hari was astounded by Naruto's ability to pull this off. At the conclusion of the story, Iruka gave the boy his forehead protector, which promoted him from academy student to genin, and Naruto used the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu to beat the living daylights out of the traitor. Interesting. For an academy student to learn Kage Bunshin in a span of 2 hours is noteworthy. The boy has talent. Too bad that the idiots aren't helping him hone such talent. Hari grumbled. With a smile, Sarutobi said, "That is where you come in. I want you to take Naruto as a temporary apprentice. Teach him everything starting from the beginning." Hari let out a sigh. Yes, it was possible, but unless Naruto performed a miracle, the task would take a long time. You do know that it's going to take a long time to train Naruto to the level of his peers, right? I mean, you want me to compress 5 years of lessons into months. An impossibility if I do say so myself. Sarutobi corrected him, saying, "Not impossible. Hard, yes, but not impossible. Do you know the schematics of the Kage Bunshin?" Hari nodded. Then an evil chuckle and a mischievous glint appeared in his eyes as realization set in. Sarutobi imitated this, and the two of them laughed uncontrollably for 30 minutes, frightening the living daylights out of the secretary who was about to enter the room. Naruto felt irritated. In addition to expressing their surprise that he passed, not noticing the forehead protector fastened to his head, Iruka-sensei declared that he had no team and would have to wait for someone to come get him so he could receive more instructions. He was now waiting for his escort with Team 7, which consisted of Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and Sai, a spooky kid from the previous year's class. Naturally, he attempted to engage Sakura in conversation, but all he received was a blow to the head and a series of demeaning remarks, leaving him feeling depressed in the room's corner. But when the door opened and a shinobi he occasionally saw during his frequent prank runs in the village appeared, he was startled out of his reverie. In contrast to the other Junins in the village, this one was not only dressed to impress, but he exuded a presence that begged for authority. The Junin asked, "Uzumaki Naruto?" grabbing his and the room's attention. Naruto exclaimed excitedly, "That's me." He was excited, but he had no idea why. The Junin mimicked Naruto's smile and said, "Good, starting today, you're going to call me sensei and you're going to be my student. Understood?" "Hi, sensei," Naruto exclaimed as he moved forward, but a voice interrupted him before he could get to his teacher. Uchiha Sasuke glared and said, "Why does the Dobi have his own personal sensei while I'm stuck with these losers?" The Junin said, "That is for me to know and for you to never find out, Gaki." With an evil grin that turned to a frown and then to fear when a bolt of lightning blasted him from his seat and struck the wall, Sasuke said, I guess losers like Naruto attract loser senseis as well." He was electrocuted by the lightning that was currently attached to his chest. Grinning, the Junin held up a lightning sparkling finger and said, "If I was a loser, Uchiha Boya, then I shouldn't have been able to hit someone of your caliber, right? If you know what's good for you, then I suggest that you keep your trap shut before I do it for you." Sakura yelled, "Hey! You can't do that to Sasuke-kun." However, she received the same punishment as her idola being thrown, blasted, and electrocuted. The Junin turned and arched an eyebrow at the last member of Team 7. He said menacingly, "You have something to say to me, Genin?" The crackling lightning was loud in contrast to the room's quiet. With a spooky smile, Sai said, "No, Junin-san." On the Junin's finger, the lightning intensified. "Good. Make sure you wipe that fake smile on your face before I shock it out of you." The Junin laughed and motioned for Naruto to follow him out of the academy as Sai's smile changed to one of fear. Naruto was thrilled. He was going to have a fantastic year. Hari took Naruto to Training Ground 42, the closest training facility to his house, where they would have a private area to get everything in order. He moved slowly, trying to see how patient Naruto would be if the boy could restrain his renowned endurance. The boy was content to follow him as he prodded on, but he had not yet asked any questions. Hari motioned for Naruto to sit on the grass when they arrived, and he did so. Taking the boy's file out of his pocket, he gave it to the blonde. Inquisitive, Naruto picked it up and looked at it, then paled as a gloomy atmosphere seemed to envelop him. "Before we go into discussions about training, I want to talk to you about that piece of paper you're holding," Hari replied. "What about it?" Naruto whispered, clenching his fists and crumpling the paper. "Nothing, but you're doing a good job of destroying it. I was planning to that myself after we talk about it, but it seems that you're one step ahead of me, so good for you." Hari grinned. With a hopeful expression, Naruto's head jerked up to face his sensei. Hari held up his hand for the boy to remain silent before he could respond. For starters, after reading that file, I already came into the conclusion that you're not well liked in the academy. Either you did all those things on the paper or you didn't and someone has it out for you. I think you already know why they're acting like that, correct? Not trusting his voice at the moment, Naruto nodded without saying anything. Well, good. Anyway, my name is Mahora Hari. Starting today, you're going to start calling me Hari-sensei. Understood? Then Naruto whispered, "Hi, Hari-sensei." Hari's lips quirked as he slapped the boy on the side of the head, causing him to yell in shock and agony. "I didn't hear you, Genin. Understood?" he said, emphasizing once more with his hand. Naruto grasped the concept instantly. Naruto yelled, "Hi, Hari-sensei," in an attempt to avoid receiving another head slap. Perfect. Since you can be taught, then teaching you everything from scratch would be easy. Now, let's discuss your training regimen. Sure, you're a genin by name only, but when it comes to skills, you're nothing but an academy student. Naruto was about to respond, but Hari put a stop over the head. However, that can be easily corrected. After all, you just learned one of the best training jutsus in the elemental countries. What technique is that, sensei? Naruto inquired inquisitively, but Hari could almost sense the excitement in the boy's voice. Simply put, Hari said, Kage Bunshin. Wondering, how does that help in training? Naruto inquired. How is training related to the shadow clone? Naruto nodded and made a single clone before saying, I think a demonstration is in order. First, I want you to make a clone. Naruto instructed his clone to stand by the tree before closing his eyes. Good, perfect control of the jutsu. You're going far, kid. Now, I want you to close your eyes and command your clone to stand by that tree over there. Naruto was truthful in obeying Hari's commands since he waved his hand over his face and saw no reaction. With a flick of his hand, he aimed a lightning bolt at the clone, striking it squarely in the face, causing it to burst into smoke. After a few seconds, Naruto got up out of his position and pointed at him while wearing a look of shock and disbelief. What did you do that for? Do what? Hari inquired naively. Hit me with that bolt of lightning from your finger. If I hit you with my technique, then you should be unconscious right now. Buddha. I hit your clone, kid. Then how did I know that you hit it with a lightning jutsu? Simple. The memory of your clone is transferred over to the creator. In other words, whatever your clone experienced, you get to experience it too. That is why I said that Kage Bunshin is the best training tool in the entire elemental countries. You can learn different subjects using your clones. Multitasking at its finest, if I do say so myself. With a beam of excitement in his eyes, Naruto questioned, so what does this training involves? He was unaware of Kage Bunshin's capability. He read the full Forbidden Scroll entry on the jutsu and moaned for the moment. Due to time constraints during the event, he concentrated more on learning the schematics. With a gleam in his eyes that terrified Naruto to his core, Hari said, Well, Naruto, you're going to start from scratch. You're going to learn everything you should have learned in the academy. Your clones will take care of the knowledge while the real you will be undergoing physical training with me. You're excited now, but when we start, you're going to curse my name to the heavens. When Naruto heard his sensei laugh in the most malevolent way, he felt a chill go down his spine and nearly lost his temper. For some reason, he began to pray for his protection. Hari fulfilled the Hokage's pledge to train Naruto from the ground up. In order to ensure that Naruto developed into a well-rounded, all-around fighter, he intended to train him by adopting the techniques of his tutor and training partners while he was learning the shinobi arts, with a few adjustments of his own. Hari was determined not to become overly specialized. He desired for Naruto to be both versatile and strong on his own. Following the Kage Bunshin's explanation, the remainder of the pre-lunch period was devoted to talking about how Naruto was trained in the academy to help Hari identify the problem areas that required his attention. As soon as that was finished, Hari cast a diagnostic spell on Naruto to ascertain the boy's physical condition so he would know what to do and not do while training. As a result, Hari made the decision to enhance the physical training program in order to significantly increase Naruto's physical prowess and achieve a balance between strength and speed, much like his own physique. According to the results of the diagnostic spell, Naruto was in excellent health because of the nutritious food that Hari's elves fed him every day. However, because he was a little short, some potions were required. In addition, the boy's muscular development had anomalies that required correction. Naruto didn't do much during the academy's scheduled training sessions, as evidenced by the underdeveloped muscles in his upper body. The boy's spontaneous races with his pursuers after each successful prank helped to properly develop the blonde's lower body muscles. To put it another way, Naruto's strength was far from adequate, but his speed was right on par for a genin. Because of the strength of his chakra, the boy was a powerhouse with reserves that could compete with a Kage. This allowed Naruto to create so many shadow clones without dying, which shouldn't have been feasible given that a Kage could only create 10 clones at most before fainting from exhaustion. The boy would never experience this issue because of the power of his chakra. Since Bijus were known to be living chakras themselves and Naruto's chakra coils had become accustomed to receiving Biju chakra injections since birth, Hari instantly ascribed Kyuubi's chakra power. The wizard turned shinobi couldn't help but palm his face during Hari's test spar with Naruto, and he chose not to rush to the academy and electrocute the teachers there. Naruto's brawler-style taijutsu, which he developed on his own after the instructors mistaught him, made him as graceful as a bulldozer. Since he was actually going to start from scratch, Hari swore to God. These facts enabled Hari to eventually devise a training program, which he promptly shared with the blonde. A shinobi could not afford to be on a regular sugar high because that would result in the boy's death, especially on the battlefield, so he had to teach the boy to relax first. While the original engaged in physically taxing activities, the clones were able to perform meditation with ease because it was a mental art. Second, Hari told Naruto that he would personally train him to be stronger and faster than average while his clones worked on the mental side of training. When Hari mentioned this fact, he laughed evilly, which terrified Naruto to no end. He was unaware that Hari was channeling Anko. Third, learning jutsus without adequate chakra control would backfire and result in mishaps like the jutsu blowing up in his face or causing a big enough explosion to level half the village, so he needed Naruto to control his overabundant chakra reserves. Naruto and Hari both stared at the mental picture that statement conjured up. After the evaluation was finished, the boy had to go shopping to get rid of the ugly orange jumpsuit he was wearing. It was an eyesore in addition to being harmful to his shinobi life. The boy's protest had to be heard. As a result, Hari took Naruto to one of his favorite stores in the village, which he knew would respect the boy due to the weight he was carrying. Naruto spent an hour and a half there shopping for clothes, which caused the boy to cry and plead for it to stop. Following a tearful hour and a half, Hari eventually got Naruto outfitted in a suitable shinobi costume that would work for the time being. The wizard shinobi was aware that after the boy eliminated the blonde's immature side, he would develop his own distinctive fashion sense. Shopping for clothes was a torment for Naruto, who is a stamina freak. Ultimately, Naruto left the clothes store wearing a blue muscle shirt that flaunted his body, black cargo pants with several pockets, and an orange Uzumaki swirl on the back. To get the boy to stop talking, Hari had to accept that small orange in the outfit. For the time being, Naruto chose to wear his Hite-8 on his forehead. In order to finish the outfit, Naruto decided to wear boots rather than sandals, which the boy claimed were more comfortable and stylish. Since sandals made your toes visible to your enemies, who could easily cut them off, Hari couldn't help but agree. Hari didn't want that to happen to him, and consequently to Naruto. Naruto responded that it was wonderful to have new clothes when Hari asked him how it felt. The wizard shinobi discovered after a quick mind probe that Naruto wore the orange hideous jumpsuit because it was the only item he could afford. For 4 years, he wore it daily until he started to like it even the color. The fact that Naruto had to adapt it not because he wanted Toa made Hari happy. He immediately realized that the boy would be able to withstand his training regimen. With plenty of time to spare, Hari took Naruto to a store exclusively for shinobi and had the boy outfitted with the essentials, including ninja ropes and shurikens, as well as strengthened holsters and a pouch for his weapons. He was asked by the boy why he was footing the bill. With ease, Hari responded to the boy's inquiry by explaining that he had already paid for his outfit because he had been compensated for capturing Mizuki and safeguarding the Forbidden Scroll. Naturally, it was a lie, but given the short notice, it worked. In case the blonde asked the old man, he mentally noted that he should give the Hokage this alibi. Both literally and figuratively, Naruto was in hell. On the second day of their meeting, his new sensei jumped right into the commotion of teaching him from scratch. He wouldn't have it any other way, even though training was cruel. In order to increase his strength and speed, he was first given a set of chakra weights. In addition to his body weight, his sensei started him off weighing 50 pounds each, which should have been manageable. While his 100 clones were given different tasks to enhance their mental abilities, he had him run laps and perform muscle-building exercises from morning until noon. To his dismay, his renowned endurance was tested and even shown to be deficient. Every time he slowed down, his sadistic sensei would send lightning bolts in his direction, so he had to push himself to the limit. He was repeatedly electrocuted, but he learned his lesson and persisted. They were separated into 3 groups of 25, 25, and 50 people, to speak of his clones. His sensei insisted on sticking to 100 clones in order to protect his brain, even though he could have easily made more. The initial 50 clones were instructed to practice meditation. He asked his sensei why there were so many clones, and he was informed that it would help him learn the mental arts more quickly. He was unable to deny that, as his face was calmer and easier to focus on at the end of the day after he had defeated these clones. Although he was still hyperactive, he was able to control it to some extent. It took a while, but his clones will help him get there eventually. To help him manage his chakra, the second group, which included 25 clones, was instructed to perform the tree walking exercise. When his clones were blown off the tree for using too much chakra for the exercise, Naruto became irritated because his sensei kept laughing. He managed to climb the tree halfway without any issues after dispelling this group, but he had to reach the top and attempt to continue the tree walking exercise for 2 hours without touching the ground before his sensei declared him proficient. He was told by his sensei that if he could fight while sticking for 2 hours straight, he would be considered a tree walking master. It strengthened the notion that his sensei was a vicious jerk, but because he didn't want to risk those lightning bolts of his, he didn't say it aloud. The third group, which was made up of the final 25 clones, was given a variety of books to read, including books on general education, shinobi arts, chakra, mathematics, and history. When he initially believed his sensei was making a joke out of teaching him all he ought to have learned in the academy, he was mistaken. To his dismay, he shouldn't have had any doubts about the man. One of his clones complained that it didn't want to read, and a lightning strike quickly followed, leaving a crater where the clone was. After that, of course, nobody complained. After using the clones for a day, Naruto was given a day off to allow him to adjust to the vast amount of information that had been thrown into his head. Naruto, of course, insisted that he be allowed to do it every day, but since he was a professional medic nin, his sensei told him that if he did the shadow clone training program every day, his brain would mush up and he would end up a vegetable living in the hospital. That command's only saving grace was that it allowed him to use one clone on days off in case he ever needed one to perform an activity outside of training. His sensei simply told him to wait for the right time because he needed to catch up to his peers in terms of shinobi knowledge when he inquired about when they would begin doing missions. Naruto was about to open his mouth to complain, but his sensei interrupted him with a lightning-cackled hand, so he didn't. Hari taught Naruto Tai Chi during the day without clones, which was centered around taijutsu. However, Naruto, who was essentially a frontline fighter, thought the style was too gentle for his taste. His sensei introduced him to Kung Fu, an esoteric martial art that imitated animal movements to create distinctive fighting techniques, since strength and eventually speed were his strongest suits. He read the books his sensei offered on Kung Fu using 5 shadow clones, with his sensei's blessing, of course, and ultimately chose to learn the tiger style because he liked the direct strength attacks and had enough defensive moves to survive a taijutsu battle. He received physical training under the watchful eye of his sensei and the lightning finger of torture and doom, while a group of clones were assigned to learn the various katas. Before his sensei notified him of changes to their daily schedule, this portion of the training lasted for a month. Alright, Naruto-kun, because of your month-long training in the physical arts, as well as passing the proficiency test I gave you in terms of shinobi knowledge, we are going to revise your schedule to incorporate something new. Hari started talking to his apprentice. Hari was pleased that his charge was learning to calm down and concentrate rather than running around like a child on a sugar high when Naruto said, "Hi, sensei." Good, the schedule will be as follows. For Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we will be going to continue with your physical regime since you need more speed and strength for your tiger style. This means full sprint around the training field for 2 hours and another 2 hours for muscle training. Afternoon will be spent sparring using clones. We will alternate between ground spar and tree spar to add to your experience and chakra control. Understood? Naruto nodded and said, "Hi, sensei." This time, a faint smile appeared on his face. Hari certainly liked that the boy was a glutton for punishment. So since I'm going to be sparring with clones, does this mean that this will incorporate a form of teamwork exercise? Naruto grinned as Hari was commended, saying, "You're correct and very good in catching that one." To continue, the morning of Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays will be spent doing D-rank mission. However, we are going to do it with a little bit of twist. Instead of you personally going on missions, you will assign a group of clones to do it for you. During those days, you will create 15 clones, 3 for each team. Each team will grab their mission from the missions office. I already cleared this with the Hokage. I won't be supervising your D ranks, so I want you to make use of what you learned from the books to properly make a report. Understand? Naruto said, "Hi, sensei." But then he noticed something. Anyo, am I going to overpower the clones since it would be possible that they might encounter something during missions that would cause them to dispel? Very good, Boya. You're going to do just that. I think you already have enough control over your chakra to properly distribute the chakra to your clones equally? Hari replied with an eyebrow raise. During the first month, he discovered that a clone could withstand a few blows before dispelling when it was overpowered. Yes, sensei, though I want to ask you if you could check on them just in case so I can correct errors if there is one. Naruto replied. My chakra control may have improved, but it isn't to your level yet, though I kinda doubt if I could reach your level considering what you told me about my chakra before training. With pride evident in his eyes, Hari nodded and said, no problem and thanks for the suggestion. I will do just that. Now, while your clones are doing missions, you and I will continue with physical training. However, I will introduce to you a chakra control exercise, called water walking. However, instead of 25 clones, I want you to only use 5 clones. I don't want you becoming too dependent on them. Besides, I want you to slow down in using your clones since I don't want to damage your brain. Sunday is a rest day, same as usual. Understood? Naruto nodded, eager to test out the new schedule that he had already committed to memory. At the moment, Hari was examining the 7 enormous scrolls before him in the Shinobi section of the Mahora clan library. These scrolls weren't your typical ones. For the various animals he had gathered over the years, these were summoning contracts. The rest came from his elves' tireless efforts searching the elemental nation for such contracts ever since he discovered that the Hokage had a monkey summoning contract. The Hokage was arrogant that Hari didn't have a contract, so the head of the Mahora clan vowed to prove him wrong, which he eventually did. 2 of them were given to him by the shinobis he battled, and gave him as payment for sparing their lives. Bear, tiger, wolf, hawk, cats, crow, and falcon were the contracts he held. Hari was interested in the scroll because he intended to give Naruto a present once he made it through the 2nd month of hell training, as the blonde called it. Given that the boy completely changed as a result of his instruction, he was extremely proud of his pupil. To make up for the lack of teammates, the boy was also given a contract. Even though he could use his powerful chakra to create hundreds or even thousands of shadow clones, they couldn't hold up in a long battle and their abilities were similar to the originals, so enemies could still predict what they would do. Naruto could easily use a range of team-based tactics for both attack and defense if he had a summoning partner. Even though this was Hari's first time teaching a student, he was quite proud of the blonde, if he was being completely honest. He was aware that Naruto was only a temporary apprentice because the Hokage had stated that the boy's true master would shortly be carrying on with the boy's training. Hari also found that he enjoyed teaching a lot. He would have taught Dada at Hogwarts if he hadn't fled Wizarding Britain and been branded a Dark Lord. He added that he wouldn't have been able to find a place in the Elemental Nation if Britain hadn't taken their actions. Overall, it was a great outcome, with him ultimately winning. Over the course of 2 months, Uzumaki Naruto transformed from the previous hyperactive, loud-mouthed, stamina freak to a composed, intelligent, and focused individual who was well on his way to becoming a fine shinobi. Hari rated Naruto as mid-chunin in terms of strength and ability, but when you factor in his inexperience, he was only at most mid-genin. Nothing was beyond the scope of a few C-rank missions, which he would soon undertake and hand off to Naruto, who would serve as his guide. Returning to the subject, he was examining the summoning contracts before him and deciding what to offer the boy. Since the tiger summoning contract would complement Naruto's taijutsu style and mentality, he initially chose to give it to him. The bear summoning contract, which the boy had already signed as his own, was another possible contract. Since there were no support-type summons that favored using their fangs, claws, and brute strength to trample their opponents, he didn't bring them out all that much. Hari hasn't brought them out yet because he doesn't have any opponents who could challenge him. He preferred the bears despite the lack of activity in his reality because they were quiet, grounded, and very practical, in addition to being skilled conversationalists. They were monsters in their own right when they were furious, and the boss could easily tower over Hokage Mountain. When he first called upon him, the size of the bear clan's boss's claws and fangs nearly sent him reeling. Bigger was unquestionably preferable when it came to animal summons. Remembering those razor-sharp teeth that could have easily sliced him to pieces in a single bite made him shudder. Hari was unable to determine which animal was which, so he ultimately decided to let the boy make his own decision. He mentally noted that, if time permits, he should take the boy to his clan compound later. In addition to the contract, there were some facts that needed to be revealed. and now was the ideal moment to do so. Since it was a Sunday and there was no training on Sundays, Uzumaki Naruto was currently lounging in his house. As he relaxed on his cozy couch, he couldn't help but reflect on the changes that had occurred in his life since he started working as an apprentice for Mahora Hari, whom Naruto regarded as a brother or surrogate parent. Naruto was astounded by how his sensei had improved him. He was shocked to see how much he had changed, for a period. He noticed that the academy instructors, with the exception of Iruka sensei, weren't giving him much attention, so he resigned himself to being a mediocre shinobi because he had to do everything by himself. He actually learned all of his skills on his own. His stamina and vast chakra reserves were the only things he could boast about. Then Hari sensei entered the picture. When his cool Junin sensei showed him his academy record, he initially felt depressed. However, he was shocked when his sensei essentially told him to ignore it. His sensei personally assisted him in his training and used his strength to mold him into the person he is today, rather than leaving him to develop on his own, hoping for only a few words of wisdom to steer him in the right direction. When Naruto recalled his first month of training, he winced visibly. To put it mildly, it was brutal. The chakra weights presented a significant challenge, but he overcame it because he didn't want his trigger-happy sensei, who was overly devoted to his lightning jutsus, to electrocute him. Furthermore, he would improve more quickly from hard training than from gradual improvement due to his body's advanced healing factor. In every facet of his training, Naruto was unable to dispute that his sensei was correct. Naruto liked him because he never led him astray. He was honest to a fault, even though he was cruel to the extent of being sadistic. His sensei took the time to teach him meditation in addition to the physical aspects of training, which helped him manage his above-average chakra reserves, learn the things he should have learned in the academy, and calm down and control his natural sugar high caused by his renowned stamina. Hari never minced words, which is why he liked his sensei. Should Hari sensei discover an error, he would point it out to him, using lightning bolts to make it stick, and assist him in fixing it. Hari sensei was straightforward and disliked wordplay. His sensei even brought up his tenant, but he didn't seem to mind at all, as though he were treating the biju like a fly that should be ignored. He made it a point to explore other shinobi arts in his spare time because his academic abilities had improved. He studied in the library and looked at some jutsus that would be helpful in the field using a disguised clone. Just one since his sensei permitted it. After testing him once, his sensei discovered that he was drawn to wind techniques, so he searched the Konoha library for wind jutsus. Since the majority of Konoha shinobi had fire affinity, he only found two that he could truly use. He reminded himself a few weeks ago to ask his sensei if he had any wind techniques in the library. His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of a lovely song as a familiar red bird burst into flames in his living room. Naruto gave a warm welcome to his guest, saying, "Welcome to my home, Fox." During his first month of training, he was introduced to the bird, and his sensei's familiarity left him in awe. In addition to being a beautiful bird, Fox possessed abilities such as the ability to teleport anywhere, carry heavy loads with ease, and tears that could heal any wounds or poison. "What can I do for you?" Fox sank and settled himself on Naruto's shoulder, dropping a rolled-up piece of paper he was holding in his beak onto Naruto's lap. Naruto opened it out of curiosity and discovered it was a letter from his sensei. "Naruto, I want you to visit my house with Fox. We need to talk about a few things pertaining to the future of our apprenticeship and team." Hari Mahora Fox trilled with delight as Naruto looked up and nodded at him before he and his blonde passenger vanished from the room. After his vision cleared, Naruto saw that he was standing in a stunning living room. Although he had no idea where he was, he had the impression that he was in his sensei's house right now. This was confirmed as soon as his sensei materialized in front of him with a gentle crack. Knowing that it wasn't Shunshin or any other speed technique he was familiar with, Naruto looked at his sensei in shock. Hari said, "Welcome to the Mahora clan compound, Naruto-kun." He then sat down on the couch and motioned for Naruto to follow suit. He chose to start the day's conversation after noticing that his pupil was settling in. "Thanks for coming on such short notice even though it's your day off, but there are some things we need to talk about that would affect our future relationship as student and teacher." Naruto questioned bewilderedly, "What do you mean, sensei?" "I know everything about you, Naruto, from your childhood to that furball you're carrying in that stomach of yours. However, you don't know anything about me. I want you to halt all your questions and listen to everything I have to say. When I'm done, you can ask me anything, alright?" As soon as Hari saw Naruto nod in agreement, he began telling his story, which was similar to the ones he told the Hokage. The boy gave him an excited look when he told him about his bloodline, magic, but it subsided a little when Hari revealed that he was not able to use magic. An hour later, a stunned Naruto was staring at his sensei with a fresh perspective. Naruto asked incredulously, "Wait, you're telling me that you're the one who treated me when I was young?" And Hari nodded. "How come I didn't remember you?" "Simple, using my magic, I blocked the memory of all our interaction together. It was necessary at that time since I didn't want you to look at me as nothing more than a sensei. I want you to grow into your emotions slowly as you continue to grow as a shinobi. It is normal for a person to have a different outlook when they are with someone familiar. I want to see and experience the real you before I unblock you memories." Naruto exclaimed, "Can you return those memories to me now?" With a nod, Hari gestured to Naruto. It emitted a white light beam that struck Naruto's forehead. Before realization hit the boy's face, Naruto's eyes glazed slightly, indicating that he was processing the memories that had surfaced inside his head. Naruto shook his head and said, "Whoa, what a rush. You were the one who treated me when none in the hospital would give me the time of day. Thank you, Hari-sensei." At his charge, Hari grinned. "No problem, kid. It was a pleasure. Ever since I knew of your burden, I didn't hate you. In fact, I made sure that I implemented certain measures to make sure that you're healthy, safe, and comfortable." Before pointing an accusing finger at his sensei, Naruto had a thought. Hari erupted in laughter at the indignant expression on the blonde's face as Naruto screamed, "Wait a minute. Everything was because of you. When I disappeared after being cornered by the mob, no mobs attacking my home, the food appearing out of nowhere, the changes in my home, and my ramen." As he struck Naruto with a soothing charm, Hari said, "Yes, I did do all those things, boya." Seeing the bewildered expression on the blonde's face, he made the decision to clarify. "I hit you with a spell that helps you relax. Anyway, I did all those things for a reason, Naruto. Since I couldn't adopt you because of the civilian council, I made sure to take steps to do the next best thing. Take care of you from afar. I charmed all your clothes so that you would be brought to the safety of your home if you feel extreme fear and panic. I warded your home so that no one with ill intent towards you can enter. I had one of my house elves make sure that you're eating healthy so you won't grow stunted because of eating nothing but ramen due to the villagers hindering you from buying anything else. And most importantly, I changed all your furniture to make sure that you have a comfortable time living there." Naruto frowned in confusion and said, "But why do all of those things, sensei?" He had no idea why his sensei was taking care of him in this way. Even though his sensei was a good-hearted, somewhat sadistic person, this was just too much for an orphan like him. With a look of incredulity on Naruto's face, Hari said simply, "Simple, I experienced the same thing. You see, Naruto, in my world, there are certain people who are afraid of magic. One of these people was my relatives. When my parents died and I became an orphan, I was placed with my relatives since no one can take care of me at that time. They feared me, afraid what I would become, so I was treated like a slave, beaten up, and abused. Your life is so similar to mine that it was scary, forced to live a life of squalor and pain because of circumstances out of our control. I don't want to see anyone suffer as I did, so I helped you." With tears slowly welling up in his eyes, Naruto remained silent as he processed what his sensei had said. Unable to control his raging emotions, he threw himself at Hari, who gave him a tight hug in return. Hari just gave the boy a pat on the back to calm him down as Naruto sobbed and repeatedly muttered, "Thank you." After a few minutes, Naruto was able to control his emotions, and he returned to his seat after shyly pushing himself away from his sensei. Naruto apologized with a shy smile, "Sorry about that, sensei. I don't know what came over me." Hari dismissively waved his hand. Hari smiled after saying, "Don't worry about it. I certainly understand what you're going through. Anyway, I came here today for two reasons. One is to discuss some facts about future missions we will be getting, and two, give you a few gifts to help you become a powerful shinobi of Konoha." When Naruto learned that he would be receiving gifts from his sensei, he was thrilled. Knowing that his sensei was going to tell him something about missions, he smiled but said nothing. Even though this increased his savings so he wouldn't have to worry about purchasing the things he wanted with some extras for necessities, he was growing weary of doing nothing but D ranks. But he was looking for something more rewarding than housework. After all, he was a shinobi. Hari saw Naruto puff out his chest in pride and couldn't help but smile at the boy. "In terms of missions, according to the report I got from the missions office, you have a total of 75 D ranks under your belt, more than any genin could ever accomplish in a span of 2 months, and you did it alone. A worthy feat, Naruto boya, if I do say so myself." Hari gestured to the table between them, causing 8 scrolls to appear, a 7 large and 1 small, and said, since you have plenty of D ranks under your belt, we are going to start doing C rank mission. This is why I chose to give you 2 gifts." Naruto frowned curiously as he eyed them speculatively. "What are these scrolls, sensei?" As he gestured for Naruto to accept it, the blonde said, "Your first gift is the small scroll. That scroll contains the instruction for a supplementary technique called Shunshin no Jutsu. I think you already know what this technique can do, right?" After giving an enthusiastic nod, Naruto opened the scroll and began to read when Hari intervened. In a voice Naruto dubbed, "Sadistic Sensei. Mode," Hari ordered, "Make 5 clones and give the scroll to them. Order them to go outside and train with that skill. I expect for you to master Shunshin in 2 hours. Understood?" Before making 5 clones without the need for hand seals, Naruto yelled, "Hi, sensei." He was able to perform certain jutsus without hand seals because he had total control over his chakra, and constant practice with the Kage Bunshin allowed him to employ the technique without performing the required seal. He threw one of the clones the Shunshin scroll. "Alright, I want you to go outside and learn Shunshin. One of you dispel if you need more clones or when you're done with it. Perfect it to the point that we won't be needed seals to use them." With eagerness and excitement on their faces, the clones exclaimed, "Hi, Taiko," and then fled the living room. After a few moments of amused observation of the clones, Hari turned to face Naruto, who was clearly interested in the 7 large scrolls. "The reason I want you to learn Shunshin is to simplify travel time and to have an escape skill to fall back on instead of using replacement jutsu all the time. It is time-consuming to walk or run around the village to get to our destination, so between your Shunshin and my unique form of transportation, we can go places easier and faster." Hari observed Naruto nod his head in agreement. Hari disregarded the boy's startled expression and said, "Now, these 7 scrolls are called summoning contracts. I got these contracts from enemy shinobis and having my house elves track them down for me around the elemental nation. So far, I have these under my disposal, though I might be able to acquire more in the future if my elves can find them. According to their size, these are the master scrolls for the summoning animal they are attributed to. Now, the contracts are tiger, bear, falcon, hawk, cat, crow, and wolf. I want you to pick a contract and sign it." Naruto eyed the scrolls speculatively and asked, "Which contract did you sign, sensei?" Hari could see that the boy was already visualizing the advantages and disadvantages of each animal and was rehearsing scenarios in his mind. "Bear." Hari grinned in response. "I picked the animal that fit well with my personality. Bears are lazy animals, laid back, and very protective. However, they become monsters to their enemies when cornered or annoyed." Hari could clearly hear Naruto whisper, "You forgot sadistic." With a gleam of evil in his eyes, Hari said, "You said something, boya?" Naruto took a step back and smiled nervously at his sensei. He swallowed uneasily after saying, "Nothing, sensei. I said that bears suit you perfectly." "I thought so." Hari grinned with satisfaction as he nodded. "So, any idea what animal you want?" Naruto took a moment to reflect before responding. "Well, I'm partial to the tigers. Bears aren't that bad since they are strength types like me, though I prefer tigers since I am familiar with their attack styles. Crows are scary, and I don't really like hawks and falcons that much, though I can never deny the fact that having aerial support would be advantageous. Wolves are similar to tigers in a way, and they are pack animals. So if you ask me, I would say tigers or wolves. I'll forego bears since you already signed it, and it would be best to have 2 different summoning animals between the 2 of us in case we need diversity." With pride in his eyes, Hari remarked, "Very well thought out, Naruto." Naruto was pleased to receive the compliment. "Your reasoning is sound, and I agree that tigers or wolves would suit you best. If you ask my advice, I suggest tigers since your style gives you an affinity towards them." Naruto gave a nod. He asked excitedly, "I agree, sensei. So how do I summon?" 6 of the scrolls vanished back to his library when Hari nodded and waved his hand in the direction of the tiger scroll on the desk. "I want you to open the scroll, sign your name using your blood as ink. Using your hand that you want to use to summon the tigers, place blood on your fingertips and stamp it down below your name. Once done, let's go to my training ground out back and I'll teach you to summon." The process of Naruto signing the contract was completed quickly. For a while, the 2 unwinded and chatted while savoring the elves' snacks, which fascinated Naruto. When the blonde asked if he had any wind scrolls to study from, Hari gave Naruto a free pass to come and use his library. Hari gave him access, but only to the Shinobi area. He also cautioned Naruto that if he entered the magical area without his consent, he would be shocked. Since Naruto was aware of his sensei's fondness for lightning, he acted on the hint right away. After demonstrating the hand seals required for the summoning techniques, Hari let Naruto try his hand at it. When Hari displayed the animal with which he had made a contract, he couldn't help but feel even more proud of his pupil. When he first attempted summoning, his temporary apprentice actually performed far better than he did. The blonde was able to control his output to summon a medium-sized tiger on his first attempt thanks to Naruto's proficiency with the tree-walking and water-walking chakra control exercises. Since Hari's first attempt at calling forth a bear had resulted in a month-old cub, drooling milk down its muzzle, he couldn't help but stare at the furry summon. He was aware that if the cub's mother ever discovered that he had interrupted her son's feeding, she would seek his blood. For a successful summon on his first attempt, Hari had to stop Naruto from practically jumping around the training ground like a child on a sugar binge. The blonde was ordered to take the tiger, which was snickering at its summoner, back to its home and attempt to bring out the boss to complete the contract. Hari had to strike the boys behind with lightning to get him to stop. Hari couldn't help but gape at the size of the beast after Naruto made 3 attempts to bring out the boss of the tiger summons. It had the standard provisos of fangs and claws and was the same size as the bear summons boss. The enormous animal screamed danger in every way. "Get out, preserve yourself." Naturally, Hari was unable to do so, so he held his ground and hoped for the best. After interviewing Naruto and determining that he was a suitable summoner, the Taiga's boss, Byako, completed the contract by getting the boy a tattoo on his right wrist, which would eliminate the need for him to perform the hand seals in order to summon the tigers. He only had to apply the appropriate amount of chakra and smear some blood onto the tattoo. Since he didn't receive one from the bear summons boss, Hari felt that this was unfair. It appears that Naruto was luckier than he was. Byako cornered Hari after concluding the ceremony with Naruto, telling him that he smelled his friend and asking if he was the Bear Clan's summoner. Hari chose to demonstrate his point by calling forth Tsuyo, strength, the boss of the bear summons who wields a mace and wears robes, rather than responding. The 2 oversized creatures exchanged a few words before returning to the summoning realm and obtaining a pledge from their respective summoners to call them out if there was a significant battle that they could both enjoy. Hari and Naruto agreed to only bring out their respective boss summons as a last resort after realizing that they would be a handful at that moment. They shuddered at the thought of the damage those 2 would do in combat. In order to give Naruto the experience he needed to match his abilities, Hari fulfilled his promise and allowed him to try his hand at C-rank missions. Many of them needed them to destroy a bandit camp, but the majority were delivery missions. As per their agreement, Hari would support him on missions. However, Naruto was required to handle everything alone, with Hari stepping in if his expertise and experience were required. After every mission, Hari gave Naruto a detailed evaluation in order to help the boy learn from his mistakes and not make the same ones again on their subsequent mission. Hari was proud of the blonde when he learned that Naruto didn't want to kill anyone during the first bandit extermination mission, even though Naruto killed one by accident by striking him in the heart with a knife. To help his obviously distressed pupil deal with his first kill, and not that he had any experience, as he had only killed one himself, Voldemort Hari had to go psychologist on the boy. Following their heart-to-heart, which included 2 vials of calming draft, a dozen or so calming and cheering charms, and Fox singing to them in the background, they both agreed that Hari and Naruto would simply take the group of them to Ibiki and Anko rather than killing them right away as the mission required. The 2 welcomed the bandits with open arms, and to the shinobi's dismay, the T&I department's cries continued for days. After every bandit delivery, Hari and Naruto received dangos and a fruit basket. After learning what had happened to the bandits in Anko and Ibiki's care, Naruto told his sensei that since the bandits were suffering at the hands of Anko and Ibiki, 2 individuals more cruel than his sensei, it might have been best if they had killed them. With a dismissive wave of his hand, Hari told the blonde that they deserved it because they were bandits and made a mess. Naruto didn't bother to tell his sensei again and remained silent. Based on the sly smile that appeared on his sensei's face when the bandits' cries reached them, Hari's decision was irrevocable. Furthermore, it was his intention to start, so who was he to say otherwise? Since Hari didn't want to spend all of their time outside the village, which would reduce the blonde's training time and Hari's responsibilities, Naruto had 5 C-rank missions after 2 months. Naruto asked his sensei because he was interested in that. He was certainly taken aback by what he discovered. Although he was aware that his sensei was a shinobi, he was unaware that he had other occupations to fill his free time. The blonde discovered that his sensei was a clan head and had to attend council meetings, which Hari also found dull, and that he had to work twice a week at the hospital when he had nothing better to do, His sensei oversaw the new potions department at Konoha Hospital, but his secretary now handled the majority of this work, which Naruto got to know and become friends with. Naruto also learned that his sensei was a licensed medic nin who was frequently called upon in times of need, particularly when a patient's issue was too big for the medical staff to handle. This realization led Naruto to tell Hari that he wanted to become a medic nin or follow in his footsteps as a battle medic. Naruto was aware of this issue with his ambition, but his chakra reserves prevented him from gaining the necessary control to employ healing jutsus. Any healing jutsu that Naruto was able to use would be overwhelmed and, rather than helping the patient, would cause harm. Notwithstanding this obstacle, Naruto made the decision to keep learning chakra control until he met the minimal requirements for using medical techniques safely. His first attempt at using a weak medical jutsu resulted in the fish exploding rather than reviving, splashing him with fish guts, and forcing him to take a shower later. He also borrowed some of his sensei's anatomy books because the knowledge would enable him to use his tiger claw more effectively in battle, such as attacking weak points and incapacitating opponents more quickly by making every hit count. Hari and Naruto met Team 7 after returning from their most recent C-rank mission, which involved delivering Fire Blossom, a plant unique to Fire Country, to Tea Country. The mission went fairly well, save for the typical bandits, which the two had to put down and sent a lot of them to Anko and Ibiki before continuing their journey. When Hari and Naruto arrived at the Hokage's office, they saw Hitaki Kakashi and his group telling the elderly leader about the accomplishment of their most recent D-rank mission, catching Tor the cat. He stood in front of the elderly leader right away, not wanting to waste any more time dealing with the Junin and his group. Hari said, Mahora Hari and Uzumaki Naruto are returning from a successful C-rank mission to Tea Country, and Naruto imitated his smile. Their record was improved because every mission they conducted was successful. When Kakashi and his genins gave him and Naruto looks of complete incredulity, his smile changed to a smug one. He gave the signed mission scroll to the Hokage along with another report that Naruto wrote up because it was the blonde's responsibility to write mission reports for the two of them. Client received the delivery of fire blossoms as requested. We were waylaid by bandits who wanted to steal our cargo, but Naruto took care of them with ease. I think you will get a report from Ibiki or Anko on their new residence since I used my ability to take them there after Naruto knocked them out. Here's the signed mission scroll and report that Naruto wrote up. Sarutobi continued to examine the two scrolls and their contents, ignoring the Uchiha's outraged expression. He nodded in satisfaction, pulled out a payment voucher, and gave it to Hari. Before glancing at a very different Naruto, Sarutobi praised him, saying, "Very good, Hari." He could sense the strength emanating from the boy, and he couldn't help but give the head of the Mahora clan an inward pat on the back for transforming the academy dead last into a very competent genin in just 4 months. I see that you changed for the better, Naruto-kun. Training with Hari to your liking? Hari laughed when Naruto smiled and said, "Hi, Hokage Gigi." The boy was addressing the elderly leader. No matter how hard Hari tried to teach Naruto the rules of rank, the boy would always have a hint of mischief, which Hari didn't want to lose because he was a prankster himself. Hari-sensei is a great teacher and helped me learn everything I missed from the academy and then some. Sarutobi turned to the smug-looking head of the Mahora clan and complimented the blonde, saying, "Good, good. Congratulations on your recent C rank. I think that makes it 6 C rank under your belt. Hari, you and Naruto have 2 days off. Return by then for another mission." The Hokage laughed when Hari saluted him and said, "Hi, Hokage-sama." He looked over at Naruto. With a soft crack, he left the room after saying, "Back to the clan house, last one there cooks dinner." Naruto yelled, "Damn it," before trailing his sensei through a standard Shunshin's smoke and leaves. He completely missed Sakura's shocked and curious expression, Sai's stoic gaze, Kakashi's incredulous look, and Sasuke's envious glare. Hari and Naruto were called to the Hokage's office for an urgent mission sometime after lunch. Since the boy was beginning to learn Fuinjutsu on the side with his clones while training, the two of them headed straight to the Hokage's office with their supplies in their respective storage scrolls created by Naruto during their free time, especially since they had just returned from their most recent C rank. The Hokage frowned and said, "Thank you for coming on such short notice. I got an emergency mission for you too, and I have no one else to send since the other teams are still out on their respective missions." He received an assurance from Hari, "No problem, Hokage-sama. It was a relatively easy mission. Naruto and I are well rested for another one without bothering to rest. What seems to be the problem?" Team 7 under Kakashi is on a C-rank mission to Wave Country to guard the bridge builder Tazuna from bandits. However, there were some complications due to the lack of information from the client. It seems that Gato hired missing nins to kill Tazuna before he could complete the bridge. Kakashi and his team encountered the Demon Brothers and dispatched them easily. However, Kakashi found out after interrogating the two that they worked for Momochi Zabuza, a rank missing nin from Kirigakure no Sato. Breaching protocol, Kakashi decided to continue the mission, but I am not sure if they are capable enough to handle an A-rank mission. This is where you come in. Hari instantly asked, support or take over? With a somber expression that Naruto imitated because the blonde was aware of Momochi Zabuza because he had access to and read his sensei's bingo book in his spare time. Before throwing the mission scroll to the Tobetsu Junin, the Hokage responded, support with a possibility of takeover scenario if Kakashi is not up to it. I bumped the mission to A rank. Your mission is to support Kakashi's team and provide additional firepower if necessary. Bring them back in one piece, Hari-kun. With Naruto excitedly nodding next to him, Hari reassured him, no worries, Hokage-sama. I hadn't failed my previous teammates and I have no intentions of stopping. Just to be clear, our mission parameter is to support Kakashi. They will still retain their mission to protect the client? Yes, support Kakashi, but if you have a clear shot to take down the source of the problem, then you take it without hesitation. I know that you haven't failed even once in bringing back your comrades in one piece, and I am quite confident that you won't tarnish your record as the Jinsei no Shinobi. Hokage was clearly speaking. You got your orders, dismissed. Hari saluted and turned to Naruto, saying, hi, Hokage-sama. Before the two vanished using their own means of transportation, leaving a sullen-looking Hokage in their wake, he only said, East Gate. Once the mission scroll was presented to the guards at the East Gate and registered, Hari and Naruto immediately set off on a full sprint, utilizing chakra to increase their speed. They took a brief break to observe a chained demon brother along the way. After healing them and transforming the rope that bound them into a portkey, Hari sent them to Ibiki with a note welcoming them and affixed to one of the brothers' foreheads. After giggling at the note and trembling at his sensei's sly smile, Naruto prayed for the demon brothers' souls as they prepared to partake in Ibiki and Enko's hospitality. They followed Kakashi's scent to the shore, where Team 7 left with their client for Weeb, using Naruto's keen sense of smell, a byproduct of having the Kyuubi inside him. With no other boats in sight, they were forced to walk on water to get to their destination because none of them had any other means of transportation, and Hari was unable to accompany them both because he had never been to Wave Country. After admiring the massive bridge from a distance, they came upon a lone boat emerging from the fog. He pointed them in the direction where he landed with Team 7 and Tazuna after explaining the situation to the exhausted boatman, who was immediately relieved to learn that they were shinobi reinforcements to protect Tazuna from Gato. Hari and Naruto quickly caught up to Kakashi and realized that Team 7 was being attacked. They took stock of the situation before acting. At the moment, Kakashi was beating the living daylights out of Sasuke on the shore while trapped in a water bubble held by Zabuza and other Zabuzas. Hari briefly studied them before revealing to Naruto that they were water clones. Sakura was trembling like a leaf in a storm in front of an equally trembling Tazuna, while Sai was unconscious from a bleeding wound on his shoulder. Naruto, I want you to help Sasuke. Take down those water clones. I'll free Kakashi and deal with Zabuza. Got it? Naruto, who was giddy with anticipation because this was the first mission in which he would be paired against another shinobi, said, hi, sensei. Yes, they were clones, but they were still shinobi. Hari yelled, good, go, as he charged to begin the mission. Naruto ran out of his hiding place and headed directly for Zabuza's water clones, which were severely beating the lone Uchiha. He wasted no time in throwing a series of shurikens while he was running, nailing one of the clones and defeating the tactic. When the blonde came within range, he hit one of them with a quick right hook, while the others managed to dodge out of the way. The clone was thrown towards a tree by the chakra-laced punch, which instantly transformed into water when it hit it. Naruto looked at the 7 water clones that were still alive and were doing the same to him. How are you doing, Sasuke? He asked. Pushing himself off the ground, Sasuke glared at the blonde and said, what are you doing here, Dobi? As he used a chakra-enhanced kunai to block a large sword from a water clone, Naruto said, saving your butt from the looks of it. He then kicked the clone in the stomach, throwing it back. The clone was unharmed because the kick wasn't very powerful. Sasuke growled, I don't need your help, Dobi. He flipped through a series of hand seals, took a breath, and then blasted a huge fireball in Naruto's opponent's direction. Sasuke conveniently ignored Naruto's obstruction, which was the only issue. Thankfully, Naruto was ready and used Shunshin to vanish from the projectile's trajectory, emerging a short distance behind the Uchiha. Naruto yelled angrily, "What in the world are you doing, Baka? Out." Although Sasuke was a jackass, he didn't anticipate that the boy would go so far as to strike a fellow soldier in order to defeat an adversary. A Konoha shinobi didn't work like that. Sasuke tried to punch a clone, but the clone ducked and kicked him in the stomach, knocking him back. "You're getting in the way of my fight, Dobi, and I don't need your help." The crack of bones was audible to Naruto, who concluded that the kick had broken 1 or 2 ribs. He bit his thumb, smeared blood on the tattoo on his right wrist, and slammed his right palm to the ground, furious that Sasuke had attacked him and disregarded his assistance. Summoning technique. War Tiger Brothers. There was a puff of smoke and 3 armored tigers. The 3 tiger armored task force known as the War Tiger Brothers specialized in team-based strength attacks. Because of their armor, they were frequently used to charge into any defense with minimal damage. Naruto became close friends with the trio, who viewed him as a packmate, and trained with them a few times to establish their teamwork. One of the tigers asked, "What's up, Naruto?" as the other 2 surveyed the area before glaring at the water clones, who were observing them with anxiety. When the 2 tigers eyed the water clones with hunger and licked their chops, the apprehension of the water clones increased. Naruto said to the 3, "Need your help, guys. 6 opponents. All water clones of Momochi Zabuza. And a rank missing nin from the mist. I need your help in taking them down while sensei deals with the main one." One of the tigers exclaimed, "Great," and grinned evilly at the water clones. "It's been quite a while since we battled a shinobi. You might want to tell your sensei that our bear counterparts want to have some fun. They were envious that we get to train with you often." Before racing towards the water clones with the war tigers at his sides, Naruto yelled, "I'll relay that after the battle. We might do a team spar later, you and me against sensei and his bears. Anyway, let's go and get wild." Kakashi was beginning to worry. Following a brief altercation with Zabuza and being imprisoned in a water prison by said shinobi, he observed Sasuke disobey his orders to retreat and attempt to defeat all of Zabuza's water clones by himself, ignoring Sai's attempts to assist him. He gave up when Sai was removed from the game and his students were being turned into a sport by the clones, leaving Sasuke to handle them by himself. There wasn't much of a struggle, and they were prepared to die under his supervision. He was startled when a blonde blur emerged from the trees around them, destroying one of the water clones with a punch to the face and driving out another with a hail of shurikens. As soon as the blur ceased, he recognized Naruto. What on earth was the boy doing here? Did the Hokage send him as reinforcement? He watched the fight in silence and became enraged when his own pupil, Sasuke, released a fireball at close range that would have killed the blonde genin. Fortunately, the boy moved quickly and used a swift shunshin to move out of the way. However, the water clone didn't. He was even more shocked when Naruto used teamwork and physical force to defeat Zabuza's water clones one by one while calling forth 3 enormous armored tigers. He saw Sasuke on the ground, glaring at the blonde genin who had saved his life and clutching his ribs in agony. As Zabuza watched his clones being annihilated by the blonde boy and his enormous tigers, he remarked, "I don't know who that boy is, Kakashi, but he's good." He was aware that they were summons, and since many people thought the tiger summoning contract had been lost when the last summoner for the tiger died in combat during the Second Great Shinobi War, he didn't know anyone who had it. "Another one of your students, I take it?" Zabuza's question was not answered by Kakashi but rather by a voice from the mist. Before someone left it, the voice from the mist said, "No, Zabuza-chan. Naruto is my student and yes, he is good. I trained him after all." Zabuza shivered in terror as soon as he recognized the person. With fear in his voice, Zabuza yelled, "Holy shit, Kakashi. Why didn't you tell me that you have the trigger-happy sadist of Konoha as your backup?" He was well aware of Mahora Hari, a Konoha-born rank shinobi who preferred using lightning techniques without the need for seals. Actually, he lost a number of his missing nin friends to this cruel Junin on numerous occasions. Rather than being killed, they were electrocuted to every part of their bodies until they passed out from the agony and woke up, all of them restrained and healed. Even though they were all still alive, they suffered from nightmares for months due to the phantom pain they experienced from being electrocuted. With a halting voice, Kakashi said, "I didn't know. I requested reinforcements but I didn't know that Hokage-sama would send him of all people." "No shit," Zabuza said, trying to consider his options because it was not a good idea to stand on water and face a strong Junin who had a penchant for lightning. Hari Water walked towards Zabuza and then stopped a few meters away from the missing nin and his captive, saying, "Oh yes. Now let me see. Do you want to do this the easy way or the hard way?" Easy way? Asked Kakashi and Zabuza simultaneously with fear and hope. Hari held up a finger cackling with electricity and said merrily, "The easy way is for me to electrocute you with a mild lightning jutsu so you would be forced to let go of your captive." "And the hard way?" Kakashi gulped, looking fearfully and distrustfully at the finger covered in electricity. He could still recall Asuma's account of the agony he experienced as a result of Hari's technique, and he didn't want to deal with it if he could. Hari's entire hand burst into yellow lightning as he intensified the chakra and magic he was directing into his finger. Hari's grin turned savage. With his savage grin still intact, Hari remarked, "I hit both of you with a powerful blast of lightning to knock Zabuza out and free Kakashi. Don't worry, you'll both live. A bit scorched and electrocuted perhaps, but alive all the same. After all, I'm a medic, so you're in good hands." In the hopes that the cruel Junin would release Hima just for this one time, as Zabuza pointed out, "You do know that if you hit me with your lightning, Kakashi will be electrocuted as well, right?" The two were alarmed by Hari's bored reply. "So? I can always heal him up, no worries. So what will it be?" With all the bravery he could muster, Zabuza snarled, "Neither." He created a seal and surrounded Hari with 10 water clones. "I don't think you'll survive with this much against you, even with your reputation." Hari cheerfully replied, "Oh, I wouldn't say that, Zabuza-chan." He then lifted his other hand and directed lightning through it. When Hari clapped both of his lightning-encased hands together, he unleashed a wave of cackling lightning that struck the Zabuza water clones, causing them to scream in agony before dispelling back into their base substance. The clones were caught off guard as they were about to attack. Because Zabuza's hand was connected to the water prison, the lightning wave continued to travel outward and struck Zabuza, causing him to scream in agony and, consequently, Kakashi to scream as well from electrocution. With a thought, Hari instantly levitated an unconscious Kakashi after witnessing the collapse of the water prison. He glared at Zabuza, surprised that he was still conscious despite smoking a little from his attack. However, before Zabuza could respond, a shadow clone created beforehand and concealed in the mist struck him in the cheek with a lightning-encased fist. With the real Hari following him on a sedative walk and an unconscious Kakashi floating next to him, the attack startled Zabuza once more and threw him back to shore. Hari dropped his floating baggage next to a stunned Tazuna and then approached a downed Zabuza, who was still conscious despite his cheek smoking from his lightning punch. Hari said, still awake. "You truly deserve your rank, Zabuza-chan." He shouldn't have been surprised because his clone's use of the lightning fist technique was far from its full potential because he didn't give it enough energy. Zabuza tried to get up but screamed when a chain of lightning held him in place and electrocuted him once more. "Shut up!" he growled. He screamed himself unconscious this time. Hari was about to bind Zabuza, nodding for a job well done, when a hunter nin with a mask bearing the mist symbol materialized next to him and silently removed him. Hari shrugged after raising an eyebrow. Later, he will handle it. Attempting to capture the two would be futile because the hunter nin's method would have moved them out of his field of vision. Upon returning to the group, Hari noticed that Naruto was now engaged in animated conversation with his tigers. He just grinned at the boy and walked on toward a relieved Tazuna and Team 7, their unconscious sensei. With an eyebrow raised, Naruto questioned, "Do you really have to electrocute him, sensei?" After he had finished speaking with the War Tiger brothers and sent them home, he saw Kakashi's unconscious form. He noticed that Kakashi had some burn marks on his skin and clothing when he went to see his sensei treating Team 7. With a contemplative expression on his face, Hari stopped healing Sai. After giving it some thought, he finally replied, "No," he then added with a smile, "but it was collateral damage, so no harm done." The sadistic inclinations of his sensei made Naruto perspire. When he witnessed Sai's wound healing in front of him, he inquired inquisitively, "How are they?" He had already witnessed his sensei heal someone from the most severe wounds, so he wasn't shocked. After being clobbered silly by Zabuza's clones, Sasuke broke 2 ribs and suffered some internal injuries. "I finished healing him, but he needs to rest for a day or two to get his body back into shape." Sakura and Tazuna were unharmed, though they had to change their pants because they peed on Tama. "I don't know why. I've already healed the gash on Sai's shoulder and the concussion he got in the battle, but he is experiencing chakra exhaustion, but that is nothing to worry about, he can just sleep it off." "Are they capable of traveling?" Tazuna mentioned that his house is 2 hours walk away, the blonde inquired. Hari gave a nod. "I'll levitate Sai and Kakashi so they can sleep off their chakra exhaustion," he said, casting a healing spell at Kakashi's prone form. "Sasuke can walk, but that's it. With Tazuna, you take the initiative and maintain a vigilant watch. I'll take the backseat." Ask Sakura and Sasuke to go with the floaters from both sides. It took some time to arrange the logistics because Sasuke and Sakura refused to follow Naruto's instructions, and Hari had to step in to silence them and frighten them into taking their designated positions. Naruto nodded and followed his sensei's instructions. After finishing that, they walked to Tazuna's house to place the injured in beds before making a decision. Naruto wasn't feeling well. To everyone's relief, the return trip to Tazuna's house was peaceful and free of attacks. During the entire trip, he could feel the teen's glare on his back and was in a foul mood because of a guy named Uchiha Sasuke. He was unsure of the man's problem. Although he was accustomed to the villagers' hatred, this was a novel experience for him, and it was both annoying and infuriating. Naruto sighed, knowing that he would have to leave Sasuke alone for the time being, but he sensed that a confrontation with the Uchiha was imminent. A tsunami. I've returned home, Tazuna yelled as he slammed the door of his house open. A stunning woman emerged from the kitchen, hugged Tazuna, and peered curiously over her shoulder at the Konoha shinobis. Tsunami smiled and said, I'm glad you made it back here safely and sound, father. Care to introduce us to our guests? With a smile, Tazuna stepped aside to let his daughter see his protector turned escort. These are the uber-powerful shinobis that protected me from Gado's hired thugs. Tazuna was beaming. Especially the blonde Gaki, he and his tigers saved me from getting killed. Hari smiled patronizingly at the bridge builder and then turned to face the stunning woman. With a bow, Hari greeted Tsunami-san, saying, I'm Hari, a Konoha shinobi who has taken on the task of defending your father from Gado while he completes the bridge. The team is composed of these genins. My apprentice, Naruto, is the blonde one. It is Uchiha Sasuke who is holding his ribs. Sakura is the girl with the pink hair. Behind me, 2 people are floating. Sai, a fellow genin, and Kakashi, the sensei of Team 7. Before focusing on the 2 floating shinobi behind Hari, Tsunami said, Nice to meet you all and thank you so much for protecting my father. Is there anything you need to help these 2? She asked with a grateful smile. Hari grinned and nodded. Do you have a room with beds? Hari jerked his thumb over his shoulder to signal the 2 unconscious shinobis floating behind him and said, I need to get these 2 comfortable. Using her hand to indicate the stairs to the 2nd floor, Tsunami said, We have a guest room upstairs, adding, if you'll follow me, we can get them settled in and I'll start dinner right away. You must all be hungry. Thank you very much, Tsunami-san. Before turning to Naruto, Hari said, Lead the way, please. I want you to scout the area and create a perimeter, Boya. To make sure that none of Gado's thugs ambush the house, leave some of your clones disguised. You get it? No problem, sensei, Naruto said, giving his sensei a 2-finger salute. I'll continue my patrol shift outside. Before he turned on his heel and left the house to follow instructions, the blonde yelled, Give me a call if you need anything. Hari was about to follow Tsunami to the 2nd floor when he was stopped in his tracks by Sasuke's voice. Why am I stranded here doing nothing while the Dobi got to do the patrol? Although he winced slightly when one of his ribs strained from breathing, Sasuke said this with a frown on his face. Hari sighed in frustration and then shot Sasuke a patronizing glance. Gaki, pay attention. You're hurt. I just stopped a lot of internal bleeding, a concussion, and 2 broken ribs. Your chakra is low, and some of your organs are bruised. Are you suggesting that I, a qualified medic nin, should allow you, a wounded genin, to scout outside? Rhetorically, Hari asked. Sasuke grinned proudly at Hari and then squirmed in agony once more, declaring, I'm stronger than the Dobi. I can do anything he can, even if I'm injured. After letting out a sigh, Hari glared at the boy and said, I suggest you retract that statement. He then raised his hand and used a little lightning to emphasize his point. Either you follow my instructions and take it easy for the day, or I'm going to shock your ass so that you will be twitching crazily for a month. Boya, you can choose. Sakura opened her mouth to defend her crush, but Hari's glare cut her off. Sasuke glared but shrewdly followed Hari's advice. Haruno, I'm going to do twice as much to you if you consider opening that trap of yours. Try for once in your life to stop being such a dumb fangirl before you can kill yourself. Girl, you're no longer a civilian. I would advise you to set priorities if you wish to survive in the shinobi world. Despite your great potential, you're damaging the reputation of kunoichis worldwide. Sakura looked adoringly at the Uchiha and said, I'm not worried. Sasuke-kun will save me, I'm sure. Who is going to save him, huh? If you noticed what happened back during the fight with Zabuza, Your oh-so-precious Sasuke got trashed by a bunch of Clonisa clones that only have 10% of Zabuza's true power, Hari said, essentially cutting the girl off. For this reason, Genins are assigned to a team so that they can protect one another. I advise you to leave the Shinobi force while you're still alive if your only goal was to court the Uchiha and have children. After saying that, Hari left the two Genins thinking deeply. Sakura was processing the shock of the revelation, while Sasuke was considering how he could use blackmail to get the Junin to teach him everything he knew. Tsunami took Hari to a large guest room, where he was relieved to find 2 beds that would be ideal for his patients, saving him from having to summon new ones. Grinning kindly, he thanked the woman and put the 2 of them in their beds right away, needing to wake Kakashi because they had some urgent matters to discuss. From a storage scroll, he took a vial of pepper-up potion, propped Kakashi's head, and used the elixir to speed up the healing process. He then vanished the vial, cast a diagnostic spell on the Junin, and nodded when the man's chakra returned to normal and not quite to its full potential, but enough to allow him to wake up without experiencing any negative effects. Hari enervated the man to get things started after he had been silent for a few minutes collecting his thoughts. Hitomi, how are you feeling? Before summoning a chair next to the man's bed and settling in, Hari asked. Before sitting up on his bed, Kakashi moaned a little and told him, a bit weak but good. He then gave Hari a fierce look and said, that was uncalled for, you know. What? Hari's naive response was an eyebrow raised in inquiry. Hari frowned as Kakashi said, you didn't have to electrocute me, you know. With a hint of rage visible on his face, Hari spat, it is the least you deserved, Hitomi, and you know it. Have you not forgiven me yet? Kakashi asked, squinting his eyes because he knew that the black-haired Junin had planned what had happened to him and Zabuza. I still remember that time clearly, Hari said, his magic churning inside him as he recalled the incident that made him despise Kakashi. You don't have any right to be forgiven, Kakashi. You were there the entire time, watching as a mob prepared to kill Naruto. I charmed the boy to take him to safety, but he was not wearing one of the shirts. The boy should have been saved by you. However, you just witnessed Naruto nearly die. You're pitiful, Kakashi. Kakashi turned his face away to avoid one Mahora Hari's accusing and irate glare and remarked, you don't know what you're talking about. Hari sneered and said, oh, I know what I'm talking about, Kakashi. You didn't realize it, but I also have a few of my helpers watching the boy. He told me about everything that took place that day. When the mob pursued Naruto all the way to the alley, you were the one on guard duty to keep an eye on him, but you did nothing. Naruto would have died if Fox hadn't intervened. Hari took the opportunity to continue since Kakashi remained silent. Kakashi, I understand your lack of interest in Naruto. Your sensei, the Yondaime, died, and you hold the boy responsible. Naruto wasn't at fault if you take the time to use your extraordinary intellect. Hell, when the Yondaime sealed the Kyuubi inside the boy, he was only a few hours old. How could you hold a child responsible for being pushed into a life that might kill him? A strong Konoha shinobi doesn't appear to be in front of me. With a sarcastic gleam in his eyes and sparks of electricity erupting from his body from the sudden surge of magic in his system, Hari spat, saying, I see a pathetic man that can't face up to his past and blamed a boy who had no fault over the death of your sensei. Why do you bring this up at this time? Even though the boy had nothing to do with it, Kakashi blamed Naruto for getting his sensei killed, and he couldn't deny that he used the boy as a scapegoat, and even now, he still had him in his sights. It was pure bravado, he said, his eyes narrowed, a sneer visible through his face mask. Hari was right, of course. The reason I'm bringing this up is to make sure you avoid Naruto at all costs. I am warning you. Stick to the Uchiha that you are so fond of and don't even dare try to manipulate Naruto to your gains, Hari said in a chilly voice, using some of his magic to make his point clear. The one-eyed Junin shuddered at the outcome. You forfeited the right to be his superior the day you left him to die. If you do that, you won't like what I'm going to do to you. Is that dangerous? Kakashi glared at the bright green eyes staring at him, feeling internally frightened. Just stick to your Uchiha and leave my apprentice alone and we won't have any problem, Hari stated plainly, wearing a stoic mask. Not a threat, but a promise, and I don't break my promises. Thinking he had a one-up against the Tobetsu Junin, Kakashi smugly remarked, this is my mission, Mahora, so you have no say as to what I'm going to do with the team, and this includes Naruto. Hari just arched an eyebrow and took out the mission scroll that the Hokage had given him, tossing it to the Kakashi, who caught it easily and read it, his eyes wide with shock as he gazed at the scroll in his hands. As you can see, Kakashi, I have a say in this mission, as you so tactfully stated. If I see you acting in a way that jeopardizes the mission, the client, or the genins, I can take over at any time. I'll continue to actively support Naruto and give him instructions to follow suit. Unless absolutely necessary, we will not fight your battles for you. Don't tempt me, Kakashi, I'm warning you. Avoid placing Naruto in a dangerous situation. You can do your work, and I'll do mine. Are you capiche? What happened after you shocked me unconscious? Kakashi spat, then threw back the scroll, which Hari easily caught in a telekinetic hold, and disappeared back into his pocket. Fine. Hari reported in a professional manner, Zabuza has an accomplice. Although he was upset with Kakashi for nearly killing Naruto, he was always professional in a mission and didn't allow feelings or small grievances to interfere with its success. A shinobi in a hunter nin mask took him away before I could capture him for interrogation. We can conclude that it was either an accomplice saving Zabuza's life or a hunter nin wishing to covertly destroy his body. Since hunter nins chop off their target's head on the stop and burn the body to ensure that the secrets it contains remain hidden, I would say that I go with the latter option. If it is a hunter nin, then he or she would have destroyed Zabuza's body on the spot, which is a major rule for shinobis in that profession, Kakashi said after pausing for a moment to reflect before nodding in agreement with his comrade's assumption. Given that the hunter nin's actions are suspicious and out of the ordinary, I believe we can rule out Zabuza's death. How long do you think it will take him to heal from the injuries you caused him? With a fierce expression on his face, the one-eyed Junin inquired, suggesting that a confrontation between him and Zabuza was about to take place, and this time it would be decisive. Hari said with a sly smile, well, based on what I did to the idiot without eyebrows, I'll estimate that it will take him 2 weeks, give or take a few days, to recover and return to fighting strength. Less if someone skilled in medical techniques can expedite the process. As for his injuries, there's medium-level nerve and muscle damage, chakra exhaustion, and add a few burns into the mix, maybe a broken jaw, and a few teeth knocked loose due to the punch I gave him. In conclusion, I'll give him a week to recuperate if he has access to a medic. If there was one thing Mahora Hari was, it was thorough when it came to the human body. After all, he was a professional medic nin with many accomplishments to go along with that rank. Kakashi nodded in agreement. I should then make the most of the week to adequately instruct my students. What activities do you have planned for Naruto this week? I didn't mean it that way. I just asked what task you would be assigning to your apprentice, Hari said, glaring at Kakashi, who instantly raised his hand in surrender. Based on his handling of Zabuza's clones, he doesn't require further training. I don't believe Zabuza would be an issue with you present. But my genin needs to get in shape. I'll ask him to keep a perimeter around the house, guard Tazuna while he works on the bridge and maybe lend a few shadow clones to speed up the process, and maybe do some reconnaissance to gather some intel about Gato's movements, and spar with him if he's done with all 3 of them. Hari touched each one with his finger. What have you been teaching the boy? Kakashi asked, his eyes widening. He questioned incredulously. In a sour response, Hari said, to be honest with you, I had to train Naruto from scratch. Those academy instructors of his taught him wrong. They didn't teach him anything, let me say that again. While I treat the original with traditional physical training, I must use his ability to create shadow clones to teach him everything that he should have learned at the academy. Naruto benefited greatly from his reputation as a stamina freak. He made it through a training program that would have made Maida Guy blush. Given how the blonde battled Zabuza's clones, Kakashi shook his head, but he couldn't deny the effectiveness of the training regimen. He pondered whether he could apply Hari's training method to his genin in order to prepare them for the Chunin exams in a few months. Kakashi noted, you're sadistic, you know that right? Call it what you want. Hari replied with a smirk. As long as Naruto became what he is today while continuing to improve steadily at his own pace, I don't care what you say. Given how easily Naruto eliminated Zabuza's clones, Kakashi said in defeat, fine. In light of this, when will Naruto be able to summon? He had previously brought out summoned tigers. Kakashi, that's for me to know and for you to never know. Before glaring at the one-eyed Junin and raising an eyebrow, Hari said, vindictively, don't ask me questions and I'll tell you no lies. Just wondering, Kakashi, what have you been teaching your genins? The question startled Kakashi, who blinked and said, teamwork exercise, of course. And, with both eyebrows up now, Hari inquired. Embarrassed, Kakashi said, that's it? We have spent nearly 6 months with our respective genins, or genins in your case, Kakashi. Hari, who practically drilled teamwork into Naruto using clones and himself while keeping up with other aspects of training, asked incredulously, don't tell me you didn't teach them anything else other than teamwork exercises. What have you been doing, Kakashi? What would you have done? Huh? Kakashi growled in frustration. Why don't you try teaching a genin team where one genin believes that the others are inferior to him and refuses to work with others? One genin didn't want to work because she spent the entire day looking up to her Prince Charming, and the third genin has potential but lacks the emotional quotient to get along with his teammate. After giving Kakashi a long look, Hari replied, I'll threaten them. If they disregard my instructions, I'll shock them out of their system if that doesn't work. He smiled as he replied, that's all there is to it. Is electrocution the solution to every problem? Kakashi gave a deadpan. No, but there's no denying that my approach is effective. Hari challenged, look at Naruto and tell me I'm wrong. Hari gave him a smug smile as Kakashi sank back into his bed, saying only, point. The following day, Naruto was at the bridge with the client to help with the construction, with Hari telling the blonde that he could spare 100 clones for the job, while he practiced his tiger kung fu. Kakashi, Hari, and the rest of Team 7 were in the forest behind Tazuna's house to begin some training to get them ready for the impending battle with Zabuza. Kakashi began by saying, all right, we are going to begin our training for the impending battle with Zabuza. Although his team was taken aback by this, Sai's lack of reaction to the news was not particularly surprising because the teenager rarely displayed emotion, and Sakura claims that the only time he did was when Hari threatened him with a lightning bolt to the chest back at the academy. With a tone of incredulity, Sakura said, Zabuza's dead, Kakashi-sensei. Seeing the smirk on Sasuke's face, Kakashi said, no, he isn't. He sighed inwardly at the boy's behavior, realizing that his time as a shinobi would be brief if he didn't change quickly. That is why you are going to learn a skill crucial to a shinobi's life. What is it? At last, he was going to learn something to get stronger, Sasuke asked excitedly. Kakashi smiled and replied, you're going to learn how to walk on trees. Sakura said in complete shock, we already know how to climb trees, sensei. Without your hands being used? Asked Kakashi before walking towards a tree and walked up the trunk before stopping upside down on a branch. See? What did you do? Sasuke demanded, then let out a painful yelp as a thin electrical blast struck his rump. Hari blew off the smoke rising from his finger and threatened, have a little respect, Gaki, or I'm going to use something stronger. Sasuke snarled but nodded, not wanting to be struck by something more powerful. Sakura was watched to see if she would lose it, but to everyone's surprise, she showed no reaction, and Hari couldn't help but smile. You know you didn't have to do that. Hari just shook his head in response to Kakashi's reprimand. I understand, but I don't put up with rudeness. You are their sensei, and they are genins. Hari, who was leaning comfortably on a tree, explained, it is important that they respect you because that would cause problems in and out of missions. Kakashi shrugged and said, all right, to do what I did, you have to channel chakra to your feet. If you use too much chakra, you will be blasted off the trunk, and if you don't use enough, you won't adhere to the tree's surface. How will this make us more resilient? Unhappy that his sensei would be teaching him to climb trees rather than helping him gain strength, Sasuke asked, choosing to be courteous for the time being to avoid being struck by another electrical blast from a certain trigger-happy shinobi who was standing a few meters behind him. When Hari held up his hand, Kakashi was about to respond, but he nodded, signaling that Hari would continue the explanation. Hari began his explanation by saying, channeling chakra is the basic of all shinobi arts, Sasuke-kun. Team 7 turned to face him. You need chakra to increase your speed, use jutsus, activate seals, or improve your physical strength. To succeed, though, you must learn how to channel the right amount of chakra. Tree climbing is useful in this situation. Hari-sensei, how is climbing trees beneficial? Sakura politely inquired, causing Hari to raise an eyebrow in response. Easy. Without training, it will be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to release chakra to the soles of our feet because they lack tenketsus. You will have strong control over tree climbing if you can master it with just Kara, which calls for channeling particular amounts of chakra to your feet. When you have the right control, you can quickly increase your strength and speed, learn jutsus more quickly, and use some shinobi arts to your advantage without wasting energy. Before giving Hari a grateful nod, which was returned, Kakashi said, he is correct. He then threw a kunai at each genin's feet and said, now, I want you to take a kunai and start climbing. Mark the spot and try again if you think you might fall. This will assist in assessing your level of improvement. It was somewhat unexpected that Sakura was the first to grasp the exercise, but Team 7 nodded and got going. Sakura sat on the branch halfway up the tree she was using and exclaimed, look at me, Sasuke-kun. This is easy. When Sasuke gave her a glare, Obviously jealous that someone had it before him, Sakura's joy diminished, and Kakashi chose to butt in. Kakashi praised the girl, saying, "Very good, Sakura." However, he advised her to keep running up and down the tree in order to improve her endurance. You were able to easily control it because of your low chakra reserves. To raise your chakra level and endurance, keep doing the exercise. Sakura gave her sensei a nod and a smile, then leapt to her feet and began anew. After witnessing the Sakura perform the exercise once more and recognizing the girl's talent, Hari went to Kakashi to express his thoughts. Hari pointed to a visibly panting Sakura and remarked, "You have a potentially talented student there, Kakashi. Even someone of her low chakra level couldn't hope to accomplish this exercise on the first try. She would grow up to be a skilled kunoichi because of her ease of chakra control. She might be a genjutsu mistress to challenge Kurenai or a medic nin to compete with Tsunade." "You're right," Kakashi said proudly. "I just hope she keeps doing that if she wants to become strong enough to live. Her potential won't be wasted if she can just get over her fangirl tendencies." "Well, have you ever thought about allowing Anko to rescue her?" Hari proposed, making Kakashi stare at him incredulously. "Are you insane?" Incredulously, Kakashi questioned. "She'll kill her. She despises Orochimaru more than she despises fangirls." "I know." Hari concurred. "Only Anko has the motivation to lift a fangirl out of her funk out of all the kunoichis in Konoha. Just give it some thought, okay?" With Sasuke glaring at him and stomping toward him, Kakashi said, "Fine." Then he frowned. "Why aren't you doing the exercise, Sasuke?" "Kakashi, this is foolish." The Uchiha demanded, clutching the kunai until his knuckles nearly turned white. "Teach me to get stronger, not to climb trees." Just as Kakashi was about to respond, Hari held up a hand. As he was already going through hand seals and biting his thumb to extract a little blood, Hari warned, "Gaki, you might want to rephrase that." Kakashi recognized the seal combination right away and feared what his fellow shinobi had in mind. "Stupid, get out of here." Sasuke snarled, "I'm talking to Kakashi and not you." Kakashi assumed the boy would learn a lesson he would never forget. With a savage gleam in his eyes, Hari slammed his hand to the ground and yelled, "Well, if you don't climb your tree then I'll give you a little incentive." Summoning technique. Bash Brothers. In a puff of smoke, 3 massive bears clearly taller than 6 feet carrying clubs appeared. Hari cheerfully greeted the 3, saying, "Hey guys, I have a job for you." "You bastard, Hari. How come you haven't called us out? You have no idea how bored we were." With a menacing club in hand, one of the bears with a mohawk yelled. "Kuro, calm down, please. I was just really busy. Furthermore, I called you and your brothers out for a straightforward task." "You say a job? Hari-san, what's this job?" One of the bears with glasses asked politely, but the club he was slapping on his palm said otherwise, even though he was speaking in a somewhat respectful manner. "You and your brothers, Karo, are going to love this job." Hari gestured to the visibly terrified Uchiha heir and said, "I want you, Taro, and Karo to encourage Sasuke here so he can learn the tree climbing exercise." "Really? Why didn't he want to learn it?" inquired Taro, a bear with a white scarf around his neck. Hari stated plainly, he said it was for the weak. Together, the Bash brothers declared, "We'll take the job." They then advanced on the Uchiha, clubs raised high. As the Uchiha ran toward the tree and began to sprint to the top, Hari and Kakashi couldn't help but stare in awe, certain that it was just speed and that no chakra was involved.
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.